Hello, both sides of the conversation family. We welcome you to this virtual space crafted especially for you. My name is Jada Curry, and I'm both sides of the conversation's marketing director and graphics design specialist. I want to take some time to ground us all as a community into this space we are about to open up in, so let's go through our community standards. Both sides of the conversation is providing a safe and honest space for open conversation, so we ask that you all be respectful of that. We also ask that you be respectful of each panelist, host, and participant. We do encourage healthy debates and conversations. Don't personalize anything with anyone. This includes name-calling, bullying, trolling, or shaming. This will not be allowed or tolerated. Your perspective is yours. It is not a prescription. You do not have to agree, but show respect. These community standards apply to all of our live shows and any virtual spaces that we hold on social media, including YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We want to make sure that we are caring for each other as a community. This is our priority in all of our endeavors as both sides of the conversation. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's show and continue to stay in touch with us via YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or all of them. All right, thank you for listening and see you soon.
Hello, everyone. Joining us here at both sides of the conversation live. Welcome to Addressing Community Violence. Thank you for joining us today. We are gathering in this virtual space here every Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I am Simone Davis, your co-host, and here is our host and executive director, John Henry.
Welcome, everybody. Happy Sunday. Today is going to be a phenomenal conversation. We are talking about addressing community violence, all violence in our community that's been impacting us. Before we get started today, just want to make a couple of community announcements. This weekend was a beautiful weekend in San Francisco. A lot of events, a lot of things for the family. People were coming out, and it was just beautiful to see the family and community come together. But I want to start off and take it back to Friday. I want to thank all of the San Francisco Alliance of Black school educators and the African American Leadership Initiative, 100% College Prep, for the phenomenal job of all of our young people that graduated this Friday at Kezar. Over 349 Black young African American scholars did a phenomenal job. I want to give a big shout out to our mayor, London Breed, for coming out, supporting our young people, giving a phenomenal message to the young people about where she came from and empowering them and letting them believe in the things that they could do moving forward. Also want to give a huge shout out to Cheryl Davis from the Human Rights Commission. Dr. Davis came out as well, had a powerful message. President Shaman Walton and a number of other people. DeAnthony came out to represent the HRC as well. Phenomenal event. Great to see our young people climbing that milestone, doing the things that they need to do, overcoming in this pandemic. I was just impressed to see our young people and how excited the families were to see the young people. I think it was just phenomenal. With that being said, jumping into Saturday, I want to give a huge shout out to the City Eats, to the community, our young people that came out to feed those in need. It was just a great event to see over 1,000 meals put out to the community this Saturday. So I want to give a huge shout out to them at the City Eats, Academia at Us for Us, Vibes and Smiles, and to all of our community organizations and leaders that came out with our young people to give back to those in need. With that being said, it was continued, more events. I want to give a big shout out to Drew Jackson over in Sunnydale for the Visitation Family Day, the 23rd. It was nice to see community out there. It's been a while since I was even in the area, ran into a lot of people that I knew from school. It was just nice to see the different organizations come together. They had the carnival up, the Ferris wheel, face paint. They had the ponies out for the kids, food. Reverend Birch, want to give him a big shout out as well. To Mac 10, Larry, they did a phenomenal job getting the community out and making sure that community had the things that they're needed. And then also the last event that I want to shout out to 100%, just want to thank them for putting on their event with both sides of the conversation, Alive and Free, Us for Us at the bowling alley. All of our graduates came out, had fun, they bowled, they partied in a safe environment, and it was definitely a fun event. So just want to say congratulate to 100% college prep and to all of our young people that came out to support. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and move in to today's conversation. I'm going to turn it back over to Simone so she can start introducing our phenomenal guest today. This is going to be a passionate, powerful conversation, but I think this is a conversation that's needed. Before I go any further, I want to also say to Raiden Ross and to Brother Majid Crawford for coming together, making sure that we had these conversations. SF Block has been putting together some phenomenal events for community awareness and things that's going on to impact our community. So I also want to give a big shout out to the SF Block family and to the SF Block leadership for making sure that we continue these conversations, working together and making sure community know that we see what's going on and we want to be a part of educating and making sure that community know what's going on. So with that being said, Simone, you could go ahead and start introducing all of our guests today.
Okay, thank you so much. So our first guest is going to be Jamil Rashid Patterson. He is the Associate Director of the New Community Leadership Foundation. He is a of San Francisco, raised in the Bayview Hunters Point community. Jamil is passionate about seeing people thrive and has remained empathetic towards the welfare of his entire community. Jamil was a co-founder of Let's Talk Sports Nation with Jeremiah Khalik, a sports media company that's become the eye of the Bay Area youth sports. Jamil is an active contributor who loves working with people in the community.
Yes, I do. And I'd like to thank you, Simone, for that beautiful introduction. And I'd like to thank John for the wonderful opening and just, putting an eye on what's happening in the community. Now, I'm here to do libations because, this discussion is about community violence. So we got to give it up to our ancestors and those that we lost, to bring their spirits into the conversation. And as you see in the background of me, I got Huey P. Newton, who represented community protection with the youths. But with that, right, let me get started.
Well, Jamil, we're just going to introduce you first, and then I'm going to bring you back. I was just doing your introduction first.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm going to move on and do everyone's introduction. And then I'm going to bring you back so you can do your libations.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. So our next guest is going to be D. Anthony Jones. He works in the mayor's office of neighborhood services, and he is the neighborhood services liaison for Mayor London N. Breed.
That is actually an old position. I'm now with the San Francisco Human Rights Commission. With Director Cheryl Davis, Special Project Liaison. But yes, I did work for Mayor Breed, and I'm excited to be a part of this conversation. As always, it's just an honor to be with both sides of the conversation. John, thank you so much for your leadership. Jada, shout out to the whole team at both sides of the conversation. Shout out to all of my fellow community activists in this space. So just once again, excited to be here, and I'm looking forward to working with you all and just be part of this conversation. And excuse me, you probably can hear me better now, but once again, D'Anthony Jones with the San Francisco Human Rights Commission, Special Projects Liaison to Director Cheryl Davis.
Thank you so much. And our next guest is going to be Rico Hamilton. Rico is a native of San Francisco and was raised in Fillmore. He is best known for his committed work in San Francisco communities. He currently holds important and professional positions in the city, which help the development positive impact for community.
Thank you so much, Simone. I'm Rico Hamilton. I'm just happy to be here to give input because this is an amazing conversation. John, and all the folks that has something to do with this. It's definitely been needed, and I just want to give my input and be able to contribute whatever I can to the conversation. Thank you, Simone.
Thank you so much. And our next guest is going to be Tiffany Sutton. She works for the SF Police Department in Violence Prevention Office. She was also the former assistant district attorney in San Francisco.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to be here. I'd like to thank Rain and Ross for inviting me to sit and talk on this panel, and I'm really looking forward to the conversations. And my actual title is the Director of Crime Strategies for SFPD, with a focus on violence intervention. And yes, I was a former prosecutor, assistant district attorney for San Francisco for over 10 years. So thank you so much for having me, and look forward to this conversation.
Thank you so much. And our next guest is going to be Amani Hewitt. Born and raised in San Francisco, Fillmore District, George Washington High School alumni, SF State alumni with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, Amani plans on becoming an attorney.
Hello, thank you for having me. Yes, all these things are true. Grew up in Fillmore. I just like to like Rico said, just give my input on what I can and my insight, and just, I guess, share some knowledge and learn some knowledge. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. And our next guest is going to be Elisha Rochelle. Was born and raised in San Francisco, and she is a small business owner since 2015 of Capture Moments by Elisha Rochelle LLC, also a member of the cohort of entrepreneurs.
Oh, wow. Such an honor to follow Amani Hewitt. Oh, the grandson of my mentor, Sharon Hewitt. Praise God for her legacy. I'm so glad to be here. And this conversation is something dear to my heart, and I'm thankful for this platform. So I am looking forward to this conversation. I'm glad to be surrounded by so many great voices. Praise God.
Thank you. And our next guest is going to be Kaya L. Ahmad. Kaya Ahmad Big Malo was born and raised in San Francisco, California. Brother Ahmad has lived the real Black experience, living in every predominantly Black neighborhood in San Francisco. Kaya attended an HBCU called Grambling State University in Louisiana, where he majored and applied in economics. He supported his mother's Boys Against Gangs organization and has helped establish gang truces in several Northern California neighborhoods. He was also committed to youth committed to youth college coach, served president on the Oak Park Buccaneers, and has helped establish the Sacramento Saints football team. Both served at the Ritz Kids in Sacramento area.
How you doing? I guess that's a little annex. I'm basically San Francisco born and raised. My mother actually was instrumental in the gang truce between Sunnydale and Hunters Point in 1989. I was asked to come and speak by Brother Jamil, and I appreciate that. And I'm also all ears. I want to hear what we can do, not only to after this discussion, but how we can be proactive in establishing things that can actually help curb the violence in our communities.
Thank you so much. And our next guest is going to be Richard Bill. He is a director of transitional housing for Tenderloin Housing Clinic.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Majid Crawford, for inviting me to this platform. I'm looking forward to the discussion. Yeah, my name is Richard Beal. I am the Director of Transitional Housing, and currently right now I'm contracted with the Adult Probation Department, San Francisco Adult Probation Department, to provide transitional housing for people coming out of incarceration. I've been working in the San Francisco community for over 25 years. I also was the manager of Roads to Recovery, San Bruno Jail, I also worked for Haight-Ashbury Food Place for a number of years, program manager for Western District Recovery House, and also very involved with Prop 36 contracts and initiatives and AB 109 and people coming out of incarceration. So I've been doing it for 25 years, and I'm just grateful to be able to be part of this discussion.
Thank you so much. And our next guest is Asia Lampley. Asia Lampley is currently a law student with her undergraduate degree from Wharton School. Her interests are reparations over everything.
Thank you, Simone, and thank you for having me here on this platform. Hi, everyone. So my objective today is to help focus our attention on cash reparations amongst other forms of reparations for descendants of chattel slavery. And just a little bit about myself, in addition to that very brief intro, and my apologies for that. But I grew up in Cincinnati, which is, Underground Railroad territory. Grew up Baptist on my mother's side. And then when I visited my father in New York, I was at Mosque Number 7 in Harlem, which is Brother Malcolm's mosque. So I feel like I have a good balance of merging communities and making sure that we stay focused on the number one objective, which really should be, again, cash reparations. So thank you for the intro.
Thank you. And our last guest would be Raymond Whitley. Raymond Whitley is a Bayview resident and the Violence Prevention Governor for District 2 at Young Community Developers. Okay, and with that being said, I am now going to turn it over to Jamil Rashid Patterson. Unmute yourself, Jamil.
Yeah, you threw the Rashid in there, which means righteous. That's my middle name. But I'm finna do libations because I think it's important to invite the spirits of the ancestors and their energy into the conversation. Because we're talking about violence and how we've been impacted, and we're talking about our community. And one of the reasons why I got Huey in my background, he's an ancestor, but he represented community protection and community protecting itself. And you see him with the youth, right? So, and that represents village. So here we go. Let me reach out to our ancestors so they can be with us in this discussion through energy. Almighty and eternal God, for those who we love, we can never be parted, either by death or life. Hear our prayers and thanksgivings for all whom we remember this day. Fulfill in them the purpose of your love and bring us all with them to your eternal joy. In the spirit of the ancestors and those who came before us and those who will be remembered after, I want to say Ashe.
Ashe, Ashe. All right, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into today's conversation. We are talking about community violence, how it impacts us. We want to know, a lot of women are reaching out. They don't feel protected. Are the men provided with the support that they need? Before we get started, I just want to I didn't make this announcement. So much going on in the background and things were changing. This is Men's Mental Health Month, so we want to acknowledge Men's Mental Health Month this month. Also, this is Pride Month, so we want to give a big salute out to the Pride events that's going on and supporting that community. Before we get started, just want to throw that out there, and we're going to go ahead and jump into today's conversation. And we're going to start off with lead with Rico, and everybody could just start going on. What does the violence look like to you? How do we reduce it in our community? And Raymond will be joining us shortly.
What was the question, John?
How do people get involved, and how do we reduce the violence in our community?
Oh man. So I mean, with a lot of work that I've been doing with DeAnthony and a couple of the folks on the call and just throughout the entire city, a lot of it is really coming together and sticking together and fighting for what we need as a community. I mean, I think there's multiple layers to curbing some of this violence, but we all just got to stick together and figure out how, like, what does that actually look like, in sticking together and making sure that we creating innovative ideas and bringing innovative ideas to the table to curb some of the gaps. We know, and I'm happy that the sister mentioned reparations. We know that a lot of the violence is because of poverty, is because of the underserved communities not having the essentials that they need. So a lot of stuff end up happening in our communities, but the only way that we can get like true equity is by actually even in the playing field, right? So we know that that's exactly what it is. And we can create these different systems and mechanisms to try, but I definitely agree with her with cash reparations and trying to figure out, like, how do we support our communities and even in that playing field on all levels with education, with housing. I mean, we can go on and on, but people can get involved by just doing the work. I mean, I think that a lot of times it's, you know, I think people look at it for monetary things and say, oh, we can get funding or whatever. But I think at the end of the day, just having having pure empathy and compassion for your community is going to lead you to just do what's natural because you want to uplift it. So that's how I kind of view it.
Deep. I think that's powerful. Go ahead and the next person, go ahead and jump in there.
Well, just following up with, can people hear me well? Thumbs up if you can. Okay, beautiful.
We can hear you.
Follow up. Thank you. And just to follow up with what Brother Rico was talking about and just doing this work alongside of him with the Human Rights Commission now, I think what is key and what is important is that the community leads this conversation and they come together, right? I think the violence is a result of us not being together. So I think the first thing the community could do is to organize amongst each other to come up with a plan and a way to address violence at the community level. I think as we come to this reckoning on race in America, and we come to this reckoning on the role of police in our communities, I think it's important to realize that, I mean, we can have no police in our community, but what does that mean? What does that look like? How will community then step up to address violence and prevent it? So I think it all starts with community, from the work that needs to be done to the response needed to address and to curb this violence, to also making sure that we have resources in our community to prevent violence.
I think that's very important as well. The next person, go ahead and jump in there.
This is Aja speaking. I just want to add, and thank you, Brother Rico, for mentioning that, and the brother that was just talking. I just want to add to that. When I think of community violence, I don't initially think of us being violent towards each other. I immediately think about us being highly surveilled in our cities by the police, or, for lack of a better word, the slave patrol. And so when you have access to undiluted capital, real money, cash reparations, you can shield yourself from being over-policed, right? We see it in so many forms. For example, when the Koreans come to a particular community that's usually blighted and has Black, it's our neighborhood, they have a process that they go through of getting rid of police visibility there because they want the crime rate to go down. I'm getting this information from real estate developers who've mentored me, so this isn't made up or anything. But they come to these communities where we're predominantly the demographic. They want the police out of there the first year so they can drive crime rates down on purpose. And that means that they can snap up more property at, for pennies on the dollar, because they've driven the crime rate up on purpose. So you also have to think about what external forces are working against Black people in these neighborhoods when the motive is to drive property value down so they can snap it up at at a discounted price. So we have to really just stay on code when we answer this question. Once we stay on code, work together cohesively, then we can start sharing the information cohesively and we can stay focused on the objective, which is cash reparations.
I'll just jump in next and greenback off what she said, because I don't mess with the swine. But I think we have to start educating our community, like those that's in the know. You have to walk the block, talk to the people that's on the block, so that they can take part in their community, right? Because our people get duped into driving down the property value, right? Because they don't feel connected to their community and know how to play a role, So it starts with talking with that everyday person that's on the corner. And then the other part is, learn about all of the community organizations that reside in your community. You have to know what's in your community, right? So a lot of it starts with communication. They say it run a nation. Somebody come after me.
Come on.
I'll come in after him. Of him and his sister have very valid points. I'm in here actually behalf of those who can you hear me? Can I be heard?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm here basically on behalf of those who are actually participating in said violence in the Black community, which would be the young Black males in the Black community. I am a San Francisco native, spent the majority of my life in the Hunters Point Bayview area, but still spent a lot of time in the Visitation Valley, Sunnydale, that is, Fillmore, Lakeview. And I think that it is very important that, like Jamil said, the communication with the young brothers that's there, we need to get out and reach and put the boots on the ground and go talk to these youngsters, make them feel valuable, make them feel valued, and make them feel like their voices are heard. As far as reparations, I totally and completely agree with what the sister said, because as was said in my bio, my mother established Girls and Boys Against Gangs and facilitated a gang truce in 1989. That was successful during the run of Mayor Art Agnos, because what he was willing to do was actually employ the young men in those areas. And so with a little bit of change in their pocket, or those greenbacks, brothers will opt to be a little bit more humble, and everybody's humble when the money's coming in. And more importantly, Art Agnos was a mayor that allowed us to feel like we were heard. And so I think giving the actual brothers in the community a voice, and giving them opportunities to do better is how we heal the community. And I am not a part of any specific groups at this time, but I do reach out to the brothers individually, and I do support them, and I do mediate different situations between brothers from different neighborhoods, based on the fact that I have accrued a little bit of respect over my tenure in San Francisco. And they have seen me not only participate in some of the things that they are doing, but rise above those things to become not only a well-to-do entrepreneur, father, and a scholarly collegiate graduate. So I think we need to always make sure we factor in the young Black men in these communities and do things that are tangible to them, like get them jobs, teach them trades, establish things of that matter. Because we can talk as much as we want to about the quote unquote community, but until we address the elephant in the room, which are the young men with the guns, the young men that are selling the drugs or on the drugs, or that are being targeted by the police, it's going to be very hard to make a change in the community.
I think that's powerful. Tiffany, you want to jump in there?
Hello, can you hear me?
I do
Can
want
you
to
hear
jump
me?
in.
Oh, Tiffany.
I think as a community, tackling violence. Can you hear me? Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
we can hear you, Tiffany. We can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. I think as a community, ways in which when we look at violence, I think we need to be focused and more strategic. And when we say violence, like what is it that we're tackling? Because violence is so broad in terms of the issues and in terms of the strategies, resources, what's needed to tackle the different the different levels of violence we have. We have domestic violence, we have robberies, we have homicides, we have gun violence with where there's shootings where no one has passed away. And it's just so complex and it's so many different levels that I think if we could strategically all work together, understand what it is that we're trying to tackle and get to the root of, I think that would be very powerful. And I really want to highlight and I think it was Brother Malo who said, we really need to get to the young men and the ones who are generally a part of or that we talk about, but we never really include in the conversation of really understanding what their needs are, what's going to get them into a better situation. So I think we really need to engage those that we tend to, or at least in these rooms, tend to talk about, but yet we're not pulling them into the conversations.
Powerful, powerful. I think that was well said. Richard, you up next. I think we got to continue to talk about this. We go to a lot of community meetings and we involve with a lot of the community events that's going on. And there's a lot of talk about things that we can do to help women and build up our women groups. And I believe that our women and young ladies do need it. But I think we need to put a little bit more emphasis on our young people, the young males of the community, because I think there's a big shortage of mentorship and, work from other men in the community. So I really appreciate you saying that, Tiffany. But I don't want anybody to forget mental health is the number one topic that we need to also make sure is a part of this conversation, because I think men's mental health is a big part of it. And, I think that's something that I want to make sure we don't forget. Yes, there's a monetizing issue. There's money issues in where we grew up. But we got to talk about this mental health thing because it is Men's Mental Health Month. And I don't want us to forget about that because that's very important to some of the violence that's also happening in our community, included with the substance abuse. But go ahead, Brother Richard, jump in there and do your thing.
All right, I think I came right on time. Thank you for everybody that spoke, and I really agree with what mental health has been an issue with African Americans and San Francisco community. I think that the biggest, I agree we need to be more strategic. One of the things that we definitely need to address is housing. People coming out of incarceration, for one, San Francisco is only 4% African American, yet we make up 70% of criminal justice. And so all of those clients that are coming out of criminal justice system, they need to be housed, they need to receive employment, they need to receive mental health services, they need to receive primary care. And so how are we going to get the money to provide that? Over the last 20 years, they have eliminated a lot of those programs that supported African Americans. Western Addition Recovery House no longer exists. Center for Recovery no longer exists. A lot of programs no longer exist that were supporting the African American community. We need to go back to the Board of Supervisors some money to have specific population services for clients coming out of incarceration that address African Americans. No longer do we fund faith-based programs or 12-step programs or if it's not harm reduction, it doesn't get funded in City, County, and San Francisco because of the RFP that came out in 2016. We need to address more, we need to have more treatment modalities. We need to have longer treatment stays because most of the people that are coming out of incarceration have been traumatized by the system because of systemic racism. Systemic racism. We got 70% of the participants African American in City, County, San Francisco. I know. I ran the program, Road to Recovery. I know because I'm still doing right now transitional housing for people coming out of incarceration. And what I do is I connect them to resources. I connect them to employment. Get any job, better job, career job. We didn't let the people know that they have transferable skills. Working with historic organizations in the community, such as Omega Boys Club, historic organizations, Men in Motion, Positive Directions up in Hunters Point area, have been working with those organizations for years. Those historic need to get together, all of us, and go back to the Board of Supervisors and say, let's refund these programs and provide some service for the African American community. Because now those services do not exist. We have people coming out of the criminal justice systems right now. They have no place to go. They go back right to the street. And when they go back to the street, what do? They do the same thing. They do what they know. And so we need to work on building up the Black man, giving the information to the Black woman, letting them know they have hope. Hope comes from hearing other people's experience of people like us that have went through that type of thing. Because people can't. How you going to understand my expression if you never had my experience? And change is not hard. It's resisting the change that makes it hard. And I truly believe that people act out in behavior. And I understand that going to act behavior because people outbursts are mental, emotional, and spiritual opportunities for growth. That's the opportunity for us to help this person. And so there is no lost cause. And so I truly believe that people who are coming out of the criminal justice system, and a lot of us that are definitely coming out of there because of the systemic racism, I'll be right there to connect them to those resources. Housing. There is no city-funded access point for people coming out of incarceration. There is none. As far as going from transitional housing to permanent housing, there is no bridge. It's not city-funded. Adult probation department is there is no detox if they relapse. There is no 12-step programs that they fund. All of those things do not exist right now. Because some people came up and they thought it was best not to provide services for a lot of people in the African American community, especially if you are believe in a certain type of religion or a certain type of modality. They believed in one modality, and that eliminated a lot of us, especially people of color. And I've been watching it deteriorate for the last 25 years. And so, the best thing that we can do is be strategic. And we need to advocate with the Board of Supervisors for more housing, for more substance abuse programs, transitional housing, which to permanent housing. We deserve subsidized. That's how the reparations can happen, because they need to subsidize us. They need to pay our rent. They need to pay our rent. To talk about anything if you ain't got no place to lay your head. It's hard to reunify a family. It starts with providing housing for that family, and then providing some employment for that family. So, I can go on and on because I've been doing this for 25 years. I've been on the battlefield, John. So I would continue to be on the battlefield, and I'm glad I got people on the battlefield, like Jamil and Rico. There's some people on the battlefield because we at war. This is systemic racism, and it's been the red, the segregation, all of that stuff been going on for years. You know what I'm saying? But you know what? They can't quiet our voice anymore. They can't, because we got a voice. And, I'm still speaking with working with the Reentry Council. I'm still working with the Board of Supervisors, Dr. Davis, Mayor Breed, all of us. I mean, we need to continue to ask for more funding, substance abuse, housing, mental health. And, it's Father's Day this month too. So, what I'm saying, that should be, need to support the fathers. Got a program that I'm starting that go fathers and do coaching for how to be a father. A lot of Black men don't know how to be a father. And how you gonna learn how to be a father before I got my grandson, I got my granddaughter right there in the next room. 15 days old. So I'm just grateful, to be part of this discussion. We can do those things to be successful and enhance the community together.
Definitely. Very powerful stuff there. Very powerful stuff there, Richard.
That's all I got.
With you. I agree with you. I think there's a lot more. I think there's a lot more that needs to be done, but there are some things happening, and we just got to make sure that it gets in the community, and the people that's leading the community make sure that the services get to our people. Because I know a lot of times we say that there's not services there. I'm in the community. There are a lot of services there, but how do we get the communication out to the community? How do we get the community connected? But again, we still have to fight. There's a lot more, but I'm not going to advocate for just subsidized housing. And I know Rico is part of the reparations committee. We want ownership. We have to stop selling ourselves short for co-ops and different things of that nature. I am advocating for ownership. We just passed up last week here 100-year recognition of Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The reason why they had the power, the jealousy, and the envy from the other coaches was because they had ownership. So I am advocating for our people for ownership. I'm not into rental. I'm not into subsidies, and I'm not into co-ops. I want my people to have home ownership so that they get that true sensation and feeling of home ownership and what that means as a community advocate. So that's where I'm pushing for. But we're going to move on down to Sister Alicia, and then we can move on to the next one. Oh, go ahead, Aisha.
Thank you, John. And I just wanted to extend and expound on what Brother Richard was talking about. Again, cash reparations fixes the mental health issue. A lot of us came to this point as far as PTSD and post-traumatic slave syndrome and whatnot because of the lack of funding. And so one of the things that I wanted to bring to light was that a lot of these programs that are no longer here, Richard, are a direct result, not of systemic racism. Systemic racism, I want our people to sort of get away from that term, and here's why. It gives anonymity to people who have addresses and names. There are people who actively get rid of our programs, and they tend to call themselves BIPOC and people of color as well. So they've been doing a very good job of throwing stones at us and hiding behind BIPOC and people of color. One example I want to mention is how a very particular group of people, some Asian folks, love to go to the Supreme Court every time there's a Republican president in office. They love to go to the Supreme Court and try and get rid of affirmative action. Okay, they did it, I believe, with the second Bush, and I think the first Bush, and then I think Trump as well. So, you know, they have been able to leverage affirmative action, which was not for them. That was something that our ancestors, you know, died for. They actively put that in place, and they've leveraged it. They've been able to saturate our institutions, our universities, and now our political power. And now they want to shut the door behind them and say that no more affirmative action for Black folks. So when you're looking at the program specific to what could help Black people in San Francisco, start looking at the commonalities between them and who's behind doing that behavior within a pattern, right? And so in addition to that, I want to also just make very clear that while I am an advocate for ownership as well, you know, not all of us are owners. And so some of us do need to be employees. We can't, you know, a lot of us should own homes. I believe most of us, if not all, should have homes because they were giving out homes freely to any white boy who had a dream and was an immigrant, you know, during the time when it was just Jim Crow for us, right? So I think that we should, you know, really improve our ask. We should, if we're trying to negotiate, you know, let's stop focusing on, can you fund this program for us? Because remember, these people aren't even acting in good faith when it comes to us. They know that they're actively undermining us. And so let's remove the veil of systemic racism, right? And just call them out. When you see a specific politician who happens to do things that are in alignment with how they treated Allison Collins, for example, call them out. Normalize calling out your oppressor who's throwing stones, you know, and hiding behind people of color and BIPOC. I think we as Black folks, specifically descendants of chattel slavery, we need to divest from people of color, women of color, BIPOC. None of that has served us. Everyone else has appropriated our very tangible oppression, and they've done things like gotten the anti-lynching bill passed on the heels of the George Floyd verdict. So you've got AAPI, they all moved collectively. They represent 1/3 of the world population, and they are the overseers in our blighted communities. They own everything. They own the convenience stores that make $300,000 a year. You think that little tacky convenience store is trash? It's bringing in $300,000 a year on average. In San Francisco, it's probably even more. So we need to start normalizing calling out our oppressors so that they can't play whack-a-mole with an Allison Collins who's representing us, or someone else, or Asia Lampley, or whoever, a Rico, a John Henry, whoever. I just wanted to bring that to light.
You mind?
Thank you.
Can I say something before we move forward?
One second, big brother. Rico wanted to jump in there and say something. I want to get Alicia there.
My bad.
No, 1 second. I know it's a lot of people. That's the only thing. We have a full panel. I know these conversations get us excited, but I want to go ahead and give it to Rico, and I got to kind of bring it back to DeAnthony to kind of answer some of Richard's stuff as well. And then I see Raymond. I don't know if you're there, Raymond. Click your camera on. Let me know when you're ready to come up and talk. But Rico, go ahead and jump in there, and then we're going to kind of try to move this thing around.
No, I definitely. All I wanted to say was that a lot of times with the work, and I've been doing it for a long time when it comes to violence prevention, a lot of times like the oppressed become the oppressor, right? So I mean, a lot of times I hear a lot of folks say the program, and I've been like doing this for like almost 17 years, and a lot of these programs, in my opinion, haven't really benefited our people that much. Like in my own opinion, like to me, it just creates another system that continues to oppress the people. Because like at the end of the day, there's I don't like throwing folks on blast, but like at the end of the day, like the reality is when you go to different programs, the possibilities of young men or young people getting services that they need or the support that they really need is 50-50, right? Because when you go there, you got one person who putting in 100%, then the rest of the folks probably putting in whatever they putting in because it's a job, or they just, going based off of what the criteria is of the actual job. So like, I mean, I agree 100% with the sister, because she like hitting everything 100% on point. It's just a lot of times like, what is the transparency in us, not just holding our oppressor accountable, but how do we hold community members accountable who become the overseer for the oppressor, right? Because like at the end of the day, I see it all the time. We begging them for bread. We begging them for money. We don't try to find no mechanisms for self-sufficiency. And then when people do talk about self-sufficiency, they look at them like they crazy because they going after them little funds and little crumbs and kibbles and bits. And to me, I think like in doing this work, and when we look at programs and we look at what are the outcomes, what are the measurable outcomes, what are the results, where can we find that, right? Where can you find those outcomes, right? And then when you try to go after those outcomes, and now you got cousins, you got folks who's doing the work, and then we go back into that same mentality like, dang, I can't say nothing because I don't want to stop my cousin or my folks or my family or my friends from eating, right? But like, how do we create a system where we can hold folks actually accountable to the work? Because there's folks that's on the ground doing the work. It's just how we highlight those individuals. Because right now, if I say, how many programs in the city that does violence prevention and intervention, 9 times out of 10, we can name individuals and not programs. And that don't make sense. We need to highlight and say, look, these are the programs that's doing the work. And then how do we hold the program accountable as the overseer, because they oversee our community and they just not doing the work. And that's just reality. And I would be remiss if I don't mention that, because I know I see it all the time. And I try to hold folks accountable, and I kind of do it in my own way and talk to them on my own. But like at the end of the day, like us as a community, we got to hold folks accountable to the work that they should be doing in our community, because we losing young men, a lot of young men. And I've been to a lot of funerals in this community. I done lost my best friend just recently. I done lost cousins in the quadruple homicide. Like it's not stopping. And everybody say they got an amazing program. San Francisco has some of the most resources in the entire world, right? But we losing young people in numbers, and everybody say they got amazing programs, but at the end of the day, like I'm not saying it articulate through our community, and I'm not saying folks is doing bad work at all. I think folks are doing good work, but how do we bring the work together so that we can work collaboratively and collectively as a community to making sure that we're not creating no gaps within our community? Because I might be working with somebody, but I might not be that person. Me and John was doing a mentorship program, and the person who I thought would listen to me didn't even want to listen to me. He wanted to listen to John, right? So like at the end of the day, like how do we come together and work together in creating something that can be self-sufficient, which goes back to reparations, and then we support our own. A lot of the work that the Black Panthers did, a lot of it was through their own community and creating their own and making sure that people gave into the cause that was from the community. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of that is like, how do we bring that out? Like, how do we as a community say, look, we're going to do this, and then we fund it. We make it self-sufficient. We create what we need to do. Because I don't believe in like always begging the city for bread. Like, to me, that just remind me of some biblical stuff, like begging Pharaoh for some dollars. Come on, like, so we just got to call out those community members in those programs for the work that's not being done, because like they're the overseers, and if we don't realize that and we don't call that out, to me we would be remiss. Like to me, we got to call that out. Those folks who getting all that money, because the city do provide equitable opportunity, and what I mean by that is they give millions and millions and millions of dollars to programs every single year. We would be lying if we saying that they don't. They do. They give it every single year. So what's going on, right? So like at the end of the day, how are we as a community, when we get the equitable opportunity, how are we pushing equity forward? So a lot of times equity not being pushed forward, so we continue to lose. So I just kind of wanted to say that, John, because I just thought it would be important for, because I think that what you were saying was 100% important about the oppressors. And I definitely wanted to call out the people who oversee our community, and they become the overseer for the oppressor, right? So equity, equity, equity. But if we don't push equity forward, equity don't mean nothing. Equity ain't, it's nothing to us.
I agree with you, and I also respectfully disagree, because I'm looking at some of the city budgets out, Rico, and I have to say, not all departments are doing an amazing job of making sure that funding is going to the Black community. I'm looking at a lot of these different budget proposals that's coming out from these departments, and I'm gonna tell you, it's a very small percentage, but on the amount that's going to the community, you're right, there's enough money in the community to really move and do some things, and I think that's important. We got to call out the property pimps in our community. The gatekeepers are keeping the gates closed, so I'm with you there. But I have to respectfully say, I've been looking at some of these different departments within the city, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm not too impressed on the type of money that's coming out to the Black community. So I will say that, but I want to let Alicia go on. I got to get DeAnthony in there, and then Raymond, I know he's sitting there waiting, and we'll get Tiffany back up there from a different perspective. But I want everybody to remember too, we want to hone in on this violence, and I want to, I'll put the question up there.
Don't forget about me, brother.
Okay, I forgot. I forgot. I got to get DeAnthony in there, because I know he's going to bring up some good stuff, but I agree with you.
No problem.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to make sure you understood that I was there.
Okay, hold your thought, brother. I'm sorry, it's a lot of people, but go ahead, sister.
So real quick, I'm just so choked up right now. What Rico was saying about accountability, what the brother said about getting to know who the community is and actually building those relationships, knowing their story and allowing them to have a voice. I mean, it's so much that I'm just so choked up about what was just been said. And it's just like, we do have to hold ourselves accountable as a community, ourselves accountable as parents, as contributing factors in our community, activists or what have you, as well as we need to probably have 2 or 3 different streams of focus. One focus is to the politicians and getting that money and what have you. Another stream of people are looking at the community resources and what's available. And also another hands-on, foot to the ground group of people that are focusing on the needs of those who are really out here in the community and needing different things, just like and in mentorship, like the graduates, the 349 graduates, like who is going to mentor them, who's going to track them and follow them where their next move is, who's going to encourage them every step of their way to make sure they're still moving forward. So equity in many ways. So yes, please go on.
Powerful stuff. We got a lot of questions that need to be answered. Go ahead, DeAnthony, and then I want to jump Raymond in because I know Raymond's doing a lot of violent prevention. So DeAnthony and then Raymond, go ahead.
Okay, and I'll be very, very, very brief because I just want to follow the cadence of what Rico was talking about, and to even that point, John, you know, just about departments giving money. I always say city money means city eyes and city accountability, and we all know that it's like asking the bank robber, so to speak, for a cut of the loot that they took from you. And I think when we're talking about the government offering more avenues for funding for our nonprofits, we also have to take a look at what expectations they levy on Black-led organizations and organizations on this work. Now, there is a conversation to be had about holding community leaders and community-based programs, even those led by folks that look like us and folks who we know, holding them accountable on how they're spending that money. I'll give you an example. 220. Me and Rico are working on with Director Davis and the Human Rights Commission is a landscape analysis, and Tiffany Sutton, she has been just helping us a lot with from the SFPD side. But what we've also learned is that there are departments that we don't even think about when we talk about violence prevention, who have money going out to organizations, and some of those organizations is getting 10 different grants from the same department. But their violence prevention in another department may offer another 5 grants. So 15 different grants for violence prevention, but yet we still see violence in our community. And I'll give you an example. I've seen a program getting $225,000 to serve 5 people. And my thing is, well, I mean, if that's the case, then could some of that $225,000 go towards direct payments for clients? And what we're seeing is that a lot of this money, for as much money that is going through nonprofits, how much is even getting to the clients' hands? Are you paying your clients? Are you giving them support, financial support as well? Or is it just, well, we have to pay $70,000 for MacBooks? And I'm like, well, hey, if you're paying this much for MacBooks, does a person really need a MacBook, or do they need their rent paid for the month? So this idea of also looking at how much money we're giving to organizations and how much can we redirect through those organizations for direct payments, because a lot of these organizations is getting all of this money, but violence is still going on. So I think it's a conversation to be had on accountability on both organizational sides, but also the city side too. What expectations are you putting? Expectations, you know, might be challenging for some of our organizations to meet. So then you can say, oh, well, we offered them money, but it didn't work. As opposed to saying, how can we promote the growth of these organizations to meet those expectations? And how can we be mindful of those expectations, especially if they're being set by people in these departments that don't even look like us?
I have to push back just a little bit, DeAnthony, just because.
Hold on 1 second, sister. I know you got to go, but I want to keep this flow going. I'm going to get it right after Marlo. So I need Raymond to go, Marlo, then you. Just can you hold that thought, because I want to make sure that they get their point. I'm sorry for cutting you off, but I want to make sure they get their points off because they've been waiting patiently, but I want to get that off. But DeAnthony, I think you hit that right on the head. There's another conversation that needs to be happening because, again, I'm looking at the MOHCD budget. I saw about $3.5 million going to people to educate people about rental properties and home ownership. And I'm saying, hey, we got a whole 67% of people in our housing projects in the HUD facilities who are behind 1.5 years of rent. Okay, so we spending $3.5 million to educate people about rental assistance and how to buy home ownership. Should we be rediverting that money and making sure we put some type of financial planners or some people that can help organize these people? Maybe we need to reverse the money a different way and get some strategies on that. But we'll get back to that, DeAnthony, because I think that's all tied to what's going on when you don't have money, increased violence in the community. But Brother Raymond, go ahead and jump in. I know you're doing some stuff for violence prevention, and just want to hear your perspective of what you see. How do we chip at some of this violence in the community, some of your ideas and some of the things that you have going on?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, how you doing, everybody? My name is Raymond Whitley, violence prevention convener for District 10. I'm working with YCD on violence prevention and working with a district 10 safety plan with our president and supervisor, Shaman Walton. But honestly, I just want to just say, I mean, everything that Rico said, is pretty much what I was going to say. One thing that I am going to say is I'm talking about everybody. We got to do this together. Like, everybody got their own silos. Everybody got their own tables. Everybody got their own agendas. We talking about lives here. So when we talk about the youth, we got to start really, really, really seriously inspiring a lot of the youth on us working with each other. It's like I always say, how do you get the other side to hang with the other side or deal with them when we don't even do that? Everybody works so much in silos. I've been seeing this. I was like the outside type of individual from the baby looking in, and I had ended up, like I said, ended up in a position where now I see community partners ain't working with this community partners, or this ain't going on, or like you said, you got what DeAnthony was saying, you got money that's pretty much not really getting funded out there. I don't know. It's just poverty pimping to me. Like, I had to deal with a couple of kids not actually getting hired this summer, and I heard there been so much funding out there, and they don't even got no alternative for the kids that don't get hired this summer. I think they only had a opening of like 300-400 kids, and it was probably like 500 kids left out. So I don't know. I just think like a lot of the stuff that Rico was touching on is really serious, and I think this needs to be a roundtable. I know we doing the Zooms. We need to have a real roundtable about what's really going on, because, like I said, we're talking about lives here, and I'm gonna honestly say, just me speaking from a point of just being in the community, I don't see it nothing really stopping, because there's nothing out there to really get these kids going. So one thing I do advocate on is definitely education. I feel like that's the way they push us out, the way they keep us out of stuff. We gotta educate ourselves and educating a lot of the youth with more better careers, more better training. I don't advocate for some of the other programs going on. We do got some okay programs, but a lot of stuff don't work. A lot of stuff really, really, really don't work, and I see that. And a lot of stuff that they may find kids interested. A lot of kids don't find a lot of stuff interesting, and I don't think it's fair that a lot of the older mentors speak on the youth about what they feel that they need. So I just been, like I said, just me as a violence prevention convener, I've been dealing with working with a lot of community partners on just seeing what we could do. And just outside of just me as a convener, I just figured I'd start my own business and hire 2 youth. And that's what I've been doing. So I just figure, you sometimes you got to just take it in your own hands. Like, I ain't into running to the city either for money. I think that's always the conversation. Every meeting that I hear about is funding. Sometimes we got to get together as a community and put our own money together and figure it out. And I'm so serious about that, because it's so unfortunate to see a youngster out here lose their life trying to make a few dollars or go to jail because he don't got nothing going on. So I just definitely want to say I agree with what Rico was talking about. And then another individual, I know he spoke on the mental health part. That's a major factor. I don't see a lot of mental health programs in the Bayview, and I think we need to start pushing that a lot more too. A lot more. But I don't pretty much got too much to say. I just really have to touch on that. It's just unfortunate that I actually just seen a couple of kids didn't get a job opportunity when I know it's money and other stuff out there, and it just rubbed me the wrong way seeing that, and then me trying to help them figure out where we could place them. So that's all I pretty much got to say. Thank you, John. Thank you, Rico, and thank you too, DeAnthony, for this. But I think I don't know.
And Ray, I just want to say this, because I think what you're hitting on is very, very, very important. And I don't want people in the community to miss this. That is the biggest problem in our community. And mental health is real. And I get so frustrated because I hear all these people talking about mental health. There's a lot of funding going to mental health. But when I'm in the community, especially in D10, I am hearing so much from the community. There's no mental health services provided. But I know that they always at the table. I always hear it's services, but that is one area that we definitely got to hone in on. And again, I agree with you. The community nonprofits are not working together. It's just what it is. We're supposed to be unified, and I don't see it. And it frustrates me too, because there are a lot of funding going to organizations. I work with a lot of these youth at the San Francisco Juvenile Hall. We send them out to the community organizations for jobs. They're coming back to me. Hey, John, I went there. They don't have any jobs, but they putting out flyers that they got jobs, but there's no jobs. And I think that's one of the parts that I'm honing in as we're building our capacity here to get some more staffing, is to really find out what's going on. And it's hard. It's a lot to go on. But again, what you've been talking about and Rico talked about, it's hard because as a community organization and different organization leaders trying to work with people, and like Rico said, those gatekeepers and those people that have access, it tends to keep some people from stepping forward, speaking up, doing the things that make the change, because if they say the wrong thing, now they're getting axed out of funding, different things of that nature. So I understand, but we gotta hone in on that. We gotta figure out where it stems, but it starts with change of leadership. I'm agreeing with you here. I think it's time for some of the elders of the community to start stepping back, transitioning power to some of the young people in the community, because I think a lot of times, a lot of this disorganization, dysfunction is going on with the leaders of our community, the leader of our nonprofits, and some of the elected officials as well. And again, if we really want to make change, we're going to have to do our part as well to hold these people accountable and make sure that this shift of power, this change happens. Because again, I hear everybody talking about stop the violence, stop this, let's tell the young people to stop killing each other. But again, as leaders of the community, executive directors of organizations, if we can't work together, if we can't put our personal issues to the side, how do we expect young people who are shooting and killing each other to stop their beefs? And I think that's what we really need to focus in on the conversation, because these young people are watching us, and we coming in the community and we're asking them to put their guns down and squash beefs that sometimes they've lost loved ones, family, and then you turn around to the community leaders. And this goes to some of our pastors and different people in our community, and they can't even work with each other. So as adults, we need to do some mirror work, reflection in the mirror, and make sure that we're doing our part to work in solidarity and make sure that we're working together. Because again, these kids are smart and they can see what we're doing. And if we can't talk and convene and work with together, they're not going to take our lead and listen to what we're saying, stop the violence and put the guns down. Very important point. And I want to bring Rico up because there's some more stuff that I want to hone in, but I want to go ahead and give it to Big Marlo, and then I want to go ahead and jump into Tiffany after Brother Marlo, and then we're gonna move it around.
Okay, real quick, I'm gonna hit a few points that were already spoke on. One is I talked to Jamil about this maybe 5 years ago about the gatekeepers and the problem with that. And Raymond Whitley being on the front line, he's experiencing some of the same anguish I did when I was out there trying to take care of the kids. And all of a sudden, it felt like I had the whole world up against me. I'm trying to do right. I take 2 steps forward, it's 5 back. I got people that I thought would be allies that are not doing what they said they were going to do when they got the funding to do things to help the kids. I also want to say that I am pro ownership, but first I'm going to address the mental health issue in Black males because I'm a Black man. I know there's so many different things that go on with the Black women. I also had a group home called the Home of Excellence that catered to at-risk young women. But right now I want to deal with the Black males. And there is a correlation between being broke and being depressed and being violent, all types of violence. I don't care if it's violence in the streets, domestic violence, all of those things correlate, because when you break a man's spirit and you break his pride and you break his pockets, that's depression. He turns to drugs, he turns to all these other vices, and those things also enhance the capacity for violence. Another issue we have is we always speak about Black Wall Street, and I've been to Black Wall Street, the one in Carolina and the one in Oklahoma and Tulsa. But I'm San Francisco with its own Black Wall Street. When I was coming up in San Francisco, the community ownership was at a high level. We had churches that owned apartment buildings, churches that had programs in the community where we would take care of our own, and we have to get back to taking care of our own. So what we need is to start having them get us entrepreneurial grants where we're able to start hiring kids in the community. There should be special funding given to the entrepreneurs that building communities and to hire those that are in those communities. Another issue that I wanted to talk about, going back to the Black Wall Street, like I said, we have to look at the drug epidemic and the drug war that hit San Francisco so hard and put us where we are right now. I hear reparations come for just our black, the black experience, but San Francisco was absolutely destroyed by the crack epidemic. I'm talking about destroyed. That's where we lost the majority of our home ownership. And the elders were telling us then that that was the first step to where we are now, which is this gentrification situation that we're in right now. So I want us to start thinking as a community and get away from depending on the bureaucracy, since we know we can't trust them. So we have to come up with more panels like this on higher and larger scales. And we are going to have to start looking into community responsibility, because these others come into the community and they don't need grants. They get money right out of our pockets and funneling it back into their communities. So we're going to have to figure out a master plan on how we're going to come together and do some things to start keeping the money in our community and without asking the bureaucracy for help. Because like everybody has said, that comes with red tape, yellow tape, blue tape, pom-poms, butt kissers, all kind of stuff. And that has been the problem that we've gone through for the 30 years that I have been out trying to do something in San Francisco, and the countless lives that have been lost in the city of San Francisco, my family members. So this is something I'm very passionate about, and I commend everybody on this panel that understands that we do have to do something about the gatekeepers, because the money is there, is being mismanaged and allocated in the worst fashion ever, and most of it is being pocketed and we're being swindled and bamboozled. That's just the honest truth. So, I hope I didn't carry on too long, but I like I said, and Raymond Whitley, brother, I salute you, because I was right there like you, and I know exactly what it feels like to want to help, and you start pointing kids in directions, and you point them into the direction, the door slammed in their face. And then you wonder why they out there doing negative stuff, but it's because when you try to help them, you look like a fool trying to help them, because what you're trying to offer them is being denied.
Very powerful stuff right there, my brother. You hang on there, because we're going to come back to that. But I want to go ahead and let Aisha Lampley say something. And then once Tiffany get connected back again, we're going to pull up Tiffany. And then we're going to go to Richard, DeAnthony, and Rico.
Thank you for that, John. So I just want to say that, again, cash reparations helps us all pay for the best therapists, the best mental health you can buy. You don't have to be relegated to taking part of whatever mental health program they're going to throw our little way. They're going to give us, the worst therapists, essentially. They're going to give us therapists, and you might get a few good ones for the free mental health that they would be giving us. But this is a rinse and repeat spin cycle that they love to do. So when we ask for these programs like mental health programs, please, sir, give us some mental health programs to help fix the community that you, quite frankly, fucked up in the first place. I want us to just realize that we're just not doing ourselves a good service by lowering our negotiation, requirement. Instead of begging, we have requirement. We have demands, and I think that the demand of having mental health programs is not a worthy demand, because when you have the cash reparations, when you can make that number reflect what happened to our communities as far as them introducing, drugs into our communities, things that have been brought up as evident that the government did this specifically, then that number goes up. Those cash reparations, those direct deposits each month, that number goes up. So let's stop asking for mental health because it's sexy right now. They want that to be the focus. For the longest, the focus was education. That was the white boy with ritual rhetoric that they would give us. Hey, Negroes, like, if we just educate your asses, you'll come out of poverty. Let me tell you about how ineffective education is. I graduated from an Ivy League school, the Wharton School, the only undergraduate school, business school in the Ivy League. I still, after trying to be an entrepreneur, because they wouldn't hire me for the jobs that I was entitled to, I got every excuse. We don't get our black girls from Wharton. We get our black girls from Spelman. Whatever excuse they gave me, your manager is intimidated by you. Oh, you would be bored at this job. Whatever the excuse was. I did my whole thing of let me be an entrepreneur for 2 years. I still ended up in the strip club with all the other Asians, the Asians who didn't go to college, the Asians who got pregnant at 14 and 15, the Asians who, maybe they went to nursing school, but they couldn't finish because they didn't have the money. Had they had cash reparations, they could have finished. So I want us to stop asking for these silly ass requests and demands. Focus on cash reparations. And with also what I want to say to add to that, we have completely overcomplicated this. There are, what's her name? Jodi Kantor, in an interview with Gayle King. She finally disclosed what a lot of white people rituals have not been disclosing. She disclosed two very special things, important things. One, she's a descendant of someone who survived the Holocaust who got paid cash reparations. Her grandmother, I believe, had been getting, and I have the clip too if you want me to share it. Her grandmother got paid cash reparations since I believe the 1950s or 60s. Okay. Not only that, she was paid monthly. Didn't have to go through, this middleman situation, to my knowledge, which is always the way of contaminating and diluting the money that comes to us. So when we're talking about these nonprofits and we're saying, hey, we just need to, I think someone mentioned it quite a while ago. When you're asking a nonprofit who's been acting in bad faith to tighten up and do the right thing, you have to realize how silly that sounds. Like, we have proven that direct cash payments through stimulus checks work. So now we just have to agree on what the number is, who's eligible for those cash reparations, okay? And then simply get the checks directly into our bank accounts. There doesn't need to be these old ass community leaders, these I'm so grateful for the Lord, but I have sold out the church and I have sold out the congregation. Like, we don't need the money to go through their hands anymore. We got this. We got technology now that makes them, quite frankly, obsolete. So now we just have to all be on the same page as far as what we're asking for. And I had a few other points, but I don't want to monopolize too much. But yeah, let's just stop overcomplicating this, you guys. It's very simple. Reparations have been paid upwards of 50 times in this country alone, and it just hasn't been paid to our black asses. So let's just stay focused, please.
All right. Hold those thoughts. We'll get back to you, sister. We might go over a little bit later today, but if anybody do have to get out of here, I know we originally go from 2 to 4, but this conversation is very powerful. I see the community engagement. We might have to go over a little bit because I want everybody's voice to be heard. I want the community to continue to be engaging like they're doing on YouTube, but very powerful stuff. We're going to bring up Tiffany now, and we're going to keep this rolling. We'll go to Tiffany. We'll go to Richard, Jamil, Rico, DeAnthony, and then I got to get Amani because he's been quiet, but I seen it. He jumped away from the computer, but we'll get him on. We just gonna keep going. This is very powerful, very uplifting for me. I get very passionate about these conversations. But go ahead, Sister Tiffany, and kick it off.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Because I transferred to my cell phone.
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
You better. John, first of all, I really hope that, after we come out of the pandemic, that we can continue this conversation in person and like as a round table, because just going in and out on the Zoom format, I think this is a really extremely important conversation. There's a few points that I want to hit on. One, I know we're all
You kind of breaking up on us, Tiffany. You kind of breaking up.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you broke up. Yeah, you have to say it. We couldn't hear you. You broke up.
Sure. There isn't any reason why. Someone mentioned about our youth not having jobs this summer. It was difficult for the youth to get a job this summer. And Mayor Breed has a program called Opportunities for All, where that program was available for students in San Francisco to get jobs this summer. I mean, it was a $1,500 stipend for 6 weeks, 2 sessions throughout this whole summer, where students have the ability to get jobs. And what I learned or understood was that hardly any of our people of color applied for the stipends. And I don't know if they just didn't have the information or what happened, but it was a lot of our kids, our African American students, who missed that opportunity in which they had. So there was opportunities for our students to get a job through the mayor's opportunities for all. That's one thing I want to, highlight and say. And then two, when we talk about violence, I think words are really important. I think strategies are really important. And when we're talking about who's killing who, it's extremely important to understand. Did an analysis, and hopefully I can come back and share. But when we did a data analysis, our youth between the ages of 13 to 18 was not involved to the extent of picking up a gun and shooting individuals. It was more of our 18 to 30-year-old, with 28 being the average age of the victim of homicides of non-fatal shootings. And the strategies and the resources are so much different for those individuals than it is for our 13 to 18-year-old. And when people say youth, that you usually think of the kids that are under 18. And those aren't the ones currently in San Francisco who are actually picking up the guns, shooting each other. It's our older individuals. And I always go back to say, what resources, what strategies, what are we doing when it comes to those who are 28, 27, 22, who are shooting at one another? And just looking throughout the city, there doesn't seem to be a very strategic focus around that subgroup of individuals. So if we really want to look at the root of, and again, what is it that we're trying to tackle? What is it, because your domestic violence has a whole nother different issue to it. Just really being focused on what it is that we're trying to do around violence, who can take the lead in certain areas, but just really understanding what are the focuses and what are the strategies, because every group or age demographic has different needs and resources, and we just can't treat everybody with one cookie cutter type of solution or answer. And so that's just what I wanted to highlight in this conversation.
Hey, Tiffany, are you implying that reparations, cash reparations specifically, is a cookie cutter solution? Is that your implication?
No, I didn't say any.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
So we gonna move on to Richard next. But what I want to say, Tiffany, is I agree with you partially. I work in the juvenile. I work in the juvenile system. A lot of our young people between the ages of 30. Hold on. Everybody mute your mics. So I want to say that there is a large number of juveniles who do participate in a violent crime. But I think you're right. The ages between 18 and 30 is where we really need to be focusing in the city of San Francisco and across this nation, because what happens is as kids turn 18, the services starts to depreciate. I know a lot of services that I've seen out there with programs, they only go to like 21 or 24, and it's that 24 to 28 that we really need to be targeting, because they at that part of the life where they starting to understand what's going on and they need those support services, especially a brother like Richard coming out of the county jail. We need that group targeted. We got to do a little bit more focus on it. And every kid is not going to go to college, right? And I really want to put the emphasis that our unions need to do a little bit better of a job as well. We need to start getting these young people in vocational school. And I know Rico's going to touch on this. But again, these Mayor Summer programs, great programs. But what you hit on is the thing that I'm fighting for right now. In the Black community especially, we don't have a centralized communication hub, and we don't have a way to get the information to the community. So we have some people in our community that's a little tech savvy. They read emails. We have some don't. Some respond off text. Some need flyers in the mailbox. Some people read the newspaper, but most of our young people don't. So how do we centralize and get one communication hub? Or how do we utilize all of our different communication hubs to one? Because I'm out here doing the food drives and the stuff for the community. And I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm being honest, and I get upset about it. You go to the churches in the city, they do the food giveaway. It's all Asians in a line. You go to the other parts of the city, it's all Asians in a line. So I'm trying to figure out what the heck's going on. I know my people are suffering. I know my people on these hills are hungry. Why are they not in the line? And I think we just got to do a little bit of more community come together. I think you're right. We have this Zoom stuff. We have all these different digital platforms. But as we come out of this pandemic, we're definitely going to have to put some town hall groups together. We want to impact our community. We have elders in the community that are not getting these resources that need them. We have our disability community that needs help. They're not getting it. So I think one of the ways that we need to be doing is thinking about how can we pay our young people, Get some vans, have them take these foods and these different benefits to the community, have them drive up to the community, walk up the stairs and deliver the food to make sure that our community get it. We know black people are very prideful. So a lot of times they might be suffering and they need it, but they won't say anything. So we also have to address that. But it's very important stuff that you're talking about. And we're going to continue this conversation. It's not going to stop. This was just a kickoff. And I want to thank Jamil and Majid and them for getting it going. But we're going to keep this thing going. It ain't going to stop. But I'm going to go ahead and shut up. I'm going to kick it to Richard, then Rico, Jamil, and DeAnthony, and then Amani. And we're going to keep coming back around like that.
You know, I agree with a lot of stuff that everybody said, especially Rico, Malo. All of y'all had some good information, you know, and I definitely believe in black ownership. You know, I truly believe also that we need to meet people where they are, but we do a disservice if we just leave them there. See, everyone is not able to be able to sustain certain things. And so what we got to do is meet them at their baseline and then build them up. And that's what we need to do as community organizers and community leaders, people at their baseline, and be able to serve the community and build them up. And a lot of organizations, as Rico said, are not doing that. You know, I designed my own program. I wrote some things into my own program so it could be more successful. And one thing about it, if somebody sees something that's not working, we need to find out what works. You knew before that some absence programs didn't work, and we stopped doing that. Technique, we moved on to something else because we want outcomes. And so what I did was I implemented a savings plan program, and now people are saving money in the program a certain amount. And I have people leaving my program. One guy bought a condo in Sacramento because he saved $25,000. I got another person that's getting ready to buy another piece of property. You know, and people have been saving money in the program because we implemented into the structure of the transition housing program a savings plan, and it changed the whole the program. And so things that program leaders can do to meet people at their baseline to build them up so they can become homeowners. You know, and yeah, some people do need subsidy because everybody is not able to be self-sufficient. You might have to start off with a rep payee and support services and things to help them build up their baseline, because some people just have basic life skills. Most of the people coming out of incarceration have less than a high school education. And so we need to build them up so they can get their education, so they can go, you know, Project Rebound at San Francisco State and move on to become entrepreneurs and homeowners. We have to meet them where they are. But like I said again, we do them a disservice and we just leave them there. And some organizations are just leaving them there. They don't want them to move, because we know that a lot of people look at that as more money in the problem than it is in the solution. You know, and I see that all the time. I've been seeing it for 25 years. But we are the ones that are really in the trenches, are the ones that are into the solution, building up our black men, building up our black women, connecting them to jobs, connecting them to resources, connecting them to primary care, getting them mental health services in the community. And there's some organizations that do that. Just like Big Milo said, it used to be back in the day when a lot of church programs were able to get some assistance and get some funding and run these programs, but the city wiped all of that out. They stopped funding a lot of those programs that were very successful, you know. And so we are still having some programs that are successful. We still have some programs that are serving the community, that are committed, you know, to the community. Y'all know the ones that are really doing the work. And Rico know that, you know, we have been working with some organizations, and we shouldn't be fighting. No, I see them fighting over this little, like he said, these pennies and scraps and stuff, and they want to pit us together in these RFPs, fighting over these little $100,000 grants and $200,000 grants that ain't gonna hardly do nothing for nobody. No, we need to all get together and say, give us the money. Why do it take all of this time to give us the $120 million that's we supposed to be getting from the police department? They still ain't gave us all the money. It only been $48 million been put out. Now, where's the rest of the money at? Where's the rest of the money at? You know, and they feeding us like little birds and stuff. And so it's ridiculous. And so some of the departments, and even we don't talk to them, but the departments don't talk to each other either. Because I work with the probation department, don't talk to the Department of Public Health, and the Department of Public Health got a gang of money to help support services. And Prop C just got released. That Prop C money, they got a Prop C committee, $400 million. You know, they still not distributing the money to the correct places and everything. So it's just a lot of it is just like, hurry up, but wait. We want you to do all this work, but we ain't gonna give. We just wait, because it always still go back to the money. And I'm gonna tell you, they still don't fund the correct programs and modalities. If everything safe site programs, all of those needle exchange, all of that stuff is not going to help the Black community. It's not. We don't respond to a lot of that stuff. It might reduce some health issues. Yes, it's going to be said in some, but specific abstinence-based programs, faith-based programs, outcomes when it comes to our people.
Yeah, you break it up a
And
little bit, but great
for the last 25 years. It's certain things that work better for Black people than any other race.
Facts on that. You break it up a little bit, Richard, but we heard you. And I just want to say shout out to Director Davis. She is putting out information for some of the programs and things that
I got. Y'all go
that's
ahead.
fine. She is putting out information, and we appreciate her for that, because again, like I said, there are programs, there are some things that are happening to impact the city. We just got to make sure that our people in the community are notified. But one of the things that you said, Richard, that I think is a part of it is there are new programs and new ideals out there, and I think sometimes the elders and some of the people that have been around for a long time are not open to some of the new ideals and willing to try. I'm one of the people that I feel like, hey, let's give something to try, because again, not you per se or some of the other organizations, but when you say we know who not doing the work, that is a community problem. That is where we need to come together. I am tired of hearing everybody say we know who not doing it. Well, let's all work together and let's get them out of our community. It is time for us to work in solidarity. Let's move these people out, because I'm tired of it too. And I know some of the people, and I'm working with some people, but we got to move them out. But we also have to be open to the new ideals when new people come in. And I'm not all in favor. And I'm going to tell you one thing that I'm not all in favor with. I'm just going to say this because I know a lot of people, they get upset. There are some organizations and there are some people that are not from the city that do great work, and I'm not going to say all of it, but I think what's happening in our community as well is a lot of time when we get people from out of town or different places doing the work, they want to just say, oh, they not from here, they don't know, blah, 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 blah. But I can't speak for all of them. But I know there's some people that come from other places that do great work to impact the community. At the end of the day, we have to remember we are Black. Okay, if we're going to impact each other, it doesn't matter where you're from. The struggles that we all face are the same. At some point of our life, we have dealt with the racism, we dealt with the hate, we dealt with the discrimination. We are Black. We got to help our people. We got to impact our people. We got to do it now. It is time for us to stick up. With that being said, I'm going to pass it up to go ahead, DeAnthony DeRico, because I see you're on the edge of your seat. Go ahead, DeAnthony.
Well, and this is why, like, even for me, Sister Asia has hit it on the head with reparations. And what does an entire package, even beyond cash payments, look like? Because my thing is, reparations is to repair. It shouldn't be to survive. So, and what I mean by that is those reparational payments shouldn't have to go towards paying high taxes to open up your small business. If I'm getting a reparational payment, those first 3 years of me having a business should be tax-free from the city's end. For example, on what a broad scale package looks like, because even with this idea of reinvesting money from the police department and from law enforcement, that's not the only city departments where we have faced some type of harm. So what does it look like if you're the tax collector to say, all right, we're not going, if you're a Black business owner, we're not going to charge you taxes for the first 3 years. We're not going to charge you business fees for the first couple of years. What does that support look like? Or, we all know that even with the property we have had historically, this idea that we get underappraised. So what does those city-led efforts look like to say, okay, well, if I'm the assessor recorder, we're going to make sure that all Black homeowners have free reappraisals by our office. Or we're going to fund their appraisals. Or we're going to fund an independent appraiser to come to these homes. We've seen, even in the Bay, Black homeowners getting getting their homes and properties undervalued by hundreds of thousands of dollars. So how are we also educating our community on that? Because part of the thing that happened in the crack epidemic, on top of urban renewal you had in San Francisco. You had the crack epidemic impact some of those who had inherited homes. And you also had folks who didn't know that they were being underappraised. So folks were selling their homes that they maybe inherited or that they had to themselves, selling them for less than it's worth by 50%. So how do we educate our communities on how to hold wealth and what it means to have wealth? What it means to manage wealth, what it means to build it. Brother Richard talked about the idea of a savings program. Hey, can we make that a matching savings program here in the city?
No to that, and I'll tell you why. Just remind me.
Wait, who is that?
That was Asia speaking on the savings program.
And Asia, I'm not advocating for it. I'm just throwing out different ideas on a world that's broader than just direct cash payments. How do we also help individuals get access to these institutions that they have to go into, but make that less of a burden? If it's like tax benefits for folks beyond just the cash payments. So I'm just saying, like, how do we think about this even beyond cash payments on repairing the harm that has been done systematically to Black folks?
I appreciate the question.
Asia, D'Anthony, I want y'all to come back the last Sunday of this month. So go to our website and sign up. Rico as well, and I'm trying to get some more of these other people. That last Sunday, we're talking about reparations, okay? That's the real conversation. I want to stick to the violence. I don't mean to cut y'all off, but I want y'all both to come back because we're going to have a real powwow about this reparations, and I'm going to try to get Shaman to come in for a minute. We got to have a real conversation about that because I'm advocating in San Francisco. I ain't talking about the rest of the country. With the budget that's going out, I know the mayor's budget haven't been finalized, but we need $2.5 million for reparations for our people here in the city, and I'm going to keep pushing it because I know the funding is there, and they really need to go because the medium house part, we can't give 40 acres of the mule here in San Francisco, but the medium cost of a house is about $900 to $1.5 million. We need to get these people out of debt. We need to get them some equity to start a business and things of that nature. But D'Anthony, on the part of equity, I 100% agree with you. There's going to be a lot of topics of how we do it, but I'm agreeing too. Black folks shouldn't be paying payroll tax. We shouldn't be paying income tax. We shouldn't be paying house tax. We built this country, and they need to stop telling the lie. The white folks and the other folks of this country has got a great benefit, and that's why the wealth gap is steady spreading on us. I'm all for no taxes for the Black community, where they come from payroll. That'll help our business owners, small businesses get started, and things of that nature. But I'm gonna push that to the end of the week, end of the month. Anybody that want to join that conversation on June 27th, please go to our website, sign up. We're gonna have a real powerful conversation about reparations, and it's very, very real. But I want to go ahead right now because we jumped out of order. But I had to let D'Anthony go because I seen him; he was at the edge of his desk. Jamil, go ahead and jump in there, and then Rico, and then we're gonna move it to Amani.
Yeah, you know, you can't go to a meeting or a forum and say Black Lives Matter and then leave that meeting and treat your own people like dirt, or treat your own people like dirt in the meeting and defer to the people that's not Black. And there's so much of that that's happening. That's why a lot of our people really don't take nothing serious that's going on. And there is a disconnection, right? I've been hearing reparations. Well, it passed locally in the city, right? But if you go to Hunters Point, Fillmore, Sunnydale, Lakeview, you tell our people in the community, man, reparations passed in the city. They gonna say so because it's a big disconnection with our people and community organizations and politics. And we need to bridge that gap. And then also, I'm going to say something that I think a lot of people on the panel are not going to agree with. And they're going to disagree with me. And I ain't tripping. A lot of people listening going to disagree with me. But one of the ways to connect with our community is to reach out to the weed men of our community. They're the brothers that sell, that's low-hanging fruit. They're not criminals. They just selling marijuana. And they're an outlet to a lot of the community. They're an outlet, you know, just by what they do. So if you want to reach the community, you see a brother selling weed, get his number, reach out to him, talk to him. right? And with that, you know, because me, I'm ready to get to the more surgical part, because it's stuff that's going to be hard anyway. You got brothers that's in like disputed beefs. You know, they done lost loved ones and they don't want to stop it. You just had Black Chris and Booby on Vlad TV. How's that going to impact us on the streets? Right? You know, so I'm ready to get to the surgical parts, because it's stuff that's already going to be difficult. And, you know, not to do your job for you, John, but I like to hear from Brother Hewitt. I ain't heard from him at all. That's Sharon Hewitt's grandson, who was a big legacy in our community. I want to hear him say, he's a lawyer too, you know, so I want to hear him say something.
He definitely coming up. I want to let Rico go ahead and jump in there. And then all you that's on here, we're going to have Tashel's going to start putting up the questions, because the community do want to hear about some of the questions that they ask, because we do get community to ask questions. And one of the most important ones, we all know about the defund the police thing that's going on. Community wants to know, how do you all feel? How is that going to impact our community's violence? Is the police taking a stance back, not really going after, crimes in the community, because they feel like the money's being taken from the department? I don't think the money is being impacted that much. I talked to some officers the other day, and I think it's just about the sloganation that's going on in politics. I really believe we shouldn't have used the word defund the police. I think we could have really said a different way. We could have just said some of the money that's being used for military equipment and different things that's not needed to police our community. Those funds are being diverted, and I think we probably would have had as much pushback. But I think when you say defund the police, most people just think, oh, we need police officers, there's crime. But I think there is a lot of equipment, military equipment that's being purchased. You know, I was reading some articles, and it was maybe about $100-200 million worth of militarized equipment that was being purchased, and things of that nature, for bombs and different things. That how many bomb threats do we actually get? Not saying that we don't need it, but I think those resources could be more available on the local scale. But again, that's one of the questions, but you guys are going to start seeing the questions. We're going to go over a little bit today. So if anybody have to step away, it's okay. I understand. I appreciate. Hope you guys can get back. But this is a powerful conversation. I'm liking where it's going. But we want to go ahead and get into the nuts and cranny of it, as Jamil said. But go ahead, Rico, and then Amani, and then we're going to open it up a little bit more.
No, yeah, I mean, I just
want 1 second, John. Can I just say really briefly? I really like you, John, but I want you to stay away from the Obama rhetoric. Defund the police is the most efficient way to describe what needs to be done. We don't have to pander towards people who are acting in bad faith and don't really want to defund the police, don't really want to, cough up the cash. We can be very direct and say we need to defund the police. Also, the police do not have a special duty to protect any citizen. So, I don't even want you sounding like Obama, because he's a master at benign neglect. And I would hate for anybody to associate you, John Henry, with that trash brother. Thank you.
I will respectfully disagree, but we can have a conversation about it. I love that. But I think there's a place for all of us, but we'll go there. It's true. I hear you. I'm just tell you that I have a different opinion on it, but we can have a conversation about it. But Rico, go ahead. And then Brother Hewitt, jump in there.
No, I just wanted to kind of bring things together, just based off of the previous conversation before even talking about the questions that's going to come up, or the questions that's going to come up later on. I just wanted to say that, like, I'm from San Francisco, born and raised, and San Francisco has done so much harm to the Black community. And from Jim Jones, that happened in the Western Addition, to the dismantlement of the Black Panther Party, to Justin Herman coming in and executing urban renewal and turning a thriving Black Harlem of the West into a ghetto, right? So I think, like, in this moment, what does it look like when we talk about a Black agenda? A lot of times, like, we have all these amazing ideas and they never come full circle. Our first thing is we have to come up with a Black agenda, and the Black agenda have to address Black people only. And it can't be in our own Black silos, right? Meaning Black women or Black men or Black LGBT, or we can't go that way. We got to say Black people and Black people only, and not be afraid to talk about the Black agenda and what the Black agenda actually represent. Our number one purpose, in my opinion, it has to be economic empowerment, right? Which is reparations, right? And it will help, because studies have shown, we can look at Rosewood, we can look at Black Wall Street. We can go on and on and on with the economic empowerment that has happened in certain cities throughout the United States, where Black people had the economic empowerment, where there wasn't violence, where there wasn't all these different issues within our communities, and they were actually proven to benefit the Black community. So to me, I think that economic empowerment definitely has to be the goal, or one of the main goals, in curbing some of the violence that happens within our community. Also, we have to create a counterintelligence. Like, what does counterintelligence look like within our community for all of the stuff that we know that already happens within the community? Like, there's no counterintelligence to the intelligence that they have that counters everything that we do or that we create. Anything we create and everything that we do, they find some law, they find something to create that to go against us. How do we create a counterintelligence for that and utilize some of our most educated, because our people are very, very, very educated. And I ain't even just talking about book smart. I'm talking about spiritually. We're so much of a loving and caring people. Sometimes even to our own demise. Also, I think that police violence and any violence that happens within our community from outsiders should be a human rights violation. Like, it has to be a human rights violation, because it has been going on for so long. The history of the police department, what it stood for, what it still continues to stand for, the laws that they have created over a period of time continues to oppress our people. So I think that any police violence should be, it definitely should be a human rights violation. Also, I think that we need black schools, right? And what I mean by black schools is we need black schools to educate our young people on who we are. Where do we come from? Because a lot of people, a lot of us came from Africa, or our ancestors. And then you have some folks who are native to this land, who are actually native of this land, the copper colored people of this land. But everyone and all of us believe that we come from Africa. So how do we empower ourselves to create schools, private schools for young African-American students that will actually give them a better opportunity in their life? So, for example, a lot of our children don't like the westernized education, and it's very hard for them to even get it, right? Because traditionally, we're more of a culture type people where we do things more sociably, right? Well, a lot of our children, they like to play sports, they like to act, they like to sing, they like to dance. And that's a great way for our young people to become more educated on who they are. So that way it gives them a sense of integrity, right? Because if you're learning about somebody that isn't of you and don't have the essence that you have, and you learning only of that, how does that give you integrity? How does that give you a sense of I am something, or I am somebody? And then having the school system no longer weaponize our children, right, with their education, because that's what all they do is weaponize our children with their education. If you don't get an education, if you don't learn about this person, that person who enslaved you and enslaved your people, to continue to show the superiority over us, and then they weaponize us because now that child don't have a degree and they making a bed for that child, right? They're making jail cells right now for the children in the third grade, saying that they hate school, right? It's because it's not for those young people. Also removing symbols that has caused harm in our community. For example, and this is one of the things I'm going to push for, part of the reparations also, is Justin Herman Plaza. Why is there a Justin Herman Plaza with all the harm that he has done in the Black community? Open harm. See, I think a lot of times, like, and I'm saying this when I say Black agenda, and I speak freely like this because I think a lot of times we get so educated and we assimilate so much into their way that we lose our own way, and we forget some of the things that make us who we are. And we, in my opinion, I think that we kind of compromise things that we shouldn't be compromising, or we leave things out that we shouldn't leave out, or we so much trying to impress people that we shouldn't even be impressing, that we lose focus. So I think, like, definitely all those people who were harmful to our community definitely needs to be taken away. Those symbols need to be removed from out our communities. I think that we need mandatory and public contracts reserved for Black businesses. I think that we need to hold city government and folks accountable to making sure, even through everything that has happened in our Black communities, what does it look like to make mandatory and public-private contracts for Black businesses? Mandatory. A percentage, I don't know, but we can figure that out. So to me, like, that what a reparation package look like, right? But I know everyone have their own thoughts and their own ideas around it. But like, if we can come together and put a package together, this is how we curb violence. And we know that, right? And I think a lot of times it's easier to put the Band-Aid on it, because if you stop violence, a lot of people won't have a job. A lot of people won't have a job. So at the end of the day, like, the Band-Aid effect isn't going to work. It's not going to work. We need surgery. And it's time to put in the surgery so that we can actually 100% heal the wound. The Band-Aid is smothering the wound and continue to infect the wound. So now it's time it's time for us to go into surgery and then put the neosporin on the stitches so that we can 100% heal.
I agree with you, Rico. I'm going to say this. I think we at pre-surgery mode. We just got the anesthesia in this and we on countdown because we about to go to sleep in a minute if we don't. But I think you're right. And I think definitely I'm glad to have you a part of that committee because, again, when it comes to our Black contracts, we know over the years, especially when it comes to construction contracts and different contracts for the city, once they made it a minority contract process, a lot of time Black folks got moved out of those contracts because other races would use their wives and women as a way to achieve those contracts. So I think we really have to figure out, how do we get these laws and legislative process in place that says Black? You're right. We can't go with the minority clause. We can't go with the women clause. We need something for our Black owners so they can get access to that equity. Very powerful stuff there, Rico. You know we on the same page with a lot of this. It's a lot of fight to happen. But again, we got to wake our people up because right now we in pre-surgery mode. I think the anesthesia is flowing in the air because a lot of people falling asleep, but we got to wake them up. And it starts with everybody on this panel. Brother Hewitt, you've been waiting patiently, King. Go ahead and take your time and go ahead and bless the community. I know you got a powerful voice, brother.
Honestly, I was just taking a step back, just listening, trying to soak up all the game, because I feel like as a youth, I'm only 25, so as a young person here, just listening to adults and, like, I guess big homies in a sense, you know. Okay, cool. Yeah, so big homies in a sense, because I feel like a lot of times as a youth, just speaking for youth, like my age and maybe younger, like, it's a whole lot of like well, there are a lot of gatekeepers that are older, but it also feels like there's a lot of do as I say and not as I do type thing. So the youth doesn't really respect that older generation or the people that came before them. Because like you said, we're not stupid. We see what's going on. We see what people are doing, but we feel like I would say as a youth, well, I was blessed to have a lot of strong people in my family to keep me on the right track. But I've seen or I had friends and other like people that like family to me be like, nah, I'm cool, I ain't gotta listen to that, or I'm gonna just do my own thing. And I feel like as a community, as a Black community too, I feel like we're so accustomed to individualism, or like we got to be our own selves, or we can't be a group, we have to be something else, or we have to be identify as something other than what a collective. So I feel like that's kind of like what's breaking us apart as a community too, because we don't look to come together. We look like, oh, I got to get it on my own, or nah, it's about me, or you better get out the mud like I did, versus like, all right, let's help each other, you know? So I feel like it's pretty tricky, and I feel like it's really sad. But when we talk about violence, like I start thinking about, like, I didn't just think about like, oh, okay, like people shooting each other or like systemic violence. I was thinking about like nutritional violence. Like, why do we have food deserts, or why we have so many corner stores? We don't have so many, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't see a lot of farmers market. I don't see a lot of Whole Foods or anything like that in that area. So I feel like we're set up to fail, and then I feel like we complain about us failing instead of doing something different about it. For me, I would say just in general, like, because I grew up in the Fillmore my whole life, and I just seen, like, I feel like this is the sad part for me, I feel like I've been to more funerals than graduation and marriages, weddings. So I feel like that in itself is sad, you know? So then I feel like everything's just intersectional. Like everything you guys were saying, like whether reparations, with mental health, whether it's systemic racism, it's all intertwined. And I feel like we as people, we try to cipher through it individually and not really come together. And we do come together, then it's other people who are in charge or gatekeepers that have their own agenda. So I feel like that's something that we got to stop. We got to debunk, and we need to have more discussions like this. And I feel like I want to have more youth that are open and willing to learn and like debunk what they already learned and want to do better for their community. Because I know a lot of people that say they want to do better and they want better, but it's not about what you say, it's what you do. So I feel like this, like just having this like platform is beautiful. And I want to send this to all my friends and all people, relatives and everything around my age, younger, older, just because I feel like this is the type of conversations we need to have versus you see a big homie and you're like, oh yeah, what's up? Woo, woo. He know you're doing wrong, but he like, hey, you grown, you gonna figure out on his own. Because there's no sense of accountability, there's no sense of community. So that's what we just gotta say to that.
Very powerful, my brother. That's why, you know, the people here, this is what both sides of the conversation is about, is having that difficult conversation, having a taboo conversation, the stigma conversation in the community that a lot of people don't want to have. And we're trying to do that. Me and Uncle Steak, we talked about having a young G, OG conversation. That's another conversation that we're going to have. And we're going to get the young kings like you that's 25 and under to come talk with some of the elders of the community. And we got to hear each other's perspective, because I also believe with this violence that's going on in the community, there is definitely a gap where there's some issues and some tension with our young people and the elders of the community, and I want to help resolve that. I want to fix that. And again, we got to lead by example, because I work with a lot of these young people. And let me tell you, there's a lot of elders in the community, a lot of OGs in the community. The big homies that we talking about are not doing a great service to our young people and leading them the right way. And that's why I think when we talk about leadership and we talk about the things that we need to do to impact the community, integrity is a very big thing, you know, because these young people are watching us. And a lot of times they tell me, hey, John, why should I listen to him when he doing X, Y, and Z? He out there doing this. He telling us to do this. So again, we just got to, this is where that self-accountability come on. The community accountability comes in, but just appreciate to have a young king like you come on here, speak up, and these conversations will continue to happen. And as we build capacity, we're getting the information out to the community. I reached out to a lot of the young people in Sunnydale. They didn't know about the platform, so we're getting the information out there. It takes some time with marketing and building capacity, but these conversations are powerful, and I hope people in the community appreciate it. And I love having you here, young brother. I want to get you back because the young people need to be heard. It's too many times the elders of the community are just talking, and they're not listening to our young people. And I think they have a lot of answers. We have some brilliant, articulate young people. I watched a whole bunch of them walk across the stage, and I've been dealing with them in and out of the year. And I'm telling you, we have some talented young people, but we have to empower them, enrich them with information, give them the tools that they need to impact the community. With that being said, Tiffany, you back up. Did you want to jump in? And Elise, I see you back on. And then we'll go back to Miss Lampsey, and we go keep going. Or D'Anthony, did you want to get in there? Was you trying to say something, D'Anthony? Oh, okay. And then D'Anthony, I got a message somewhere. I don't know if y'all seen that. Somebody's asking us to read some of the stuff that Miss Davis is putting up, Director Davis is putting up, Dr. Davis. I keep saying Director Davis, Dr. Davis. We got a sister that's doing big things. We got to represent it right. Dr. Davis is putting information in the comments, so I want to make sure that somebody reads that out to the community, D'Anthony or Rico. But Tiffany, if you want to go ahead and jump in there,
I think she's putting it on the one of the sub platforms.
Okay. Oh, it's so okay. It's okay. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna have to create a banner and put it in there so you can see it. Okay. It's look under the comments because she's doing it from YouTube. But okay, we'll get it out there.
From YouTube. Okay.
Can you see it? Oh, Michelle's putting it on the screen. Okay, it should be on the screen. But go ahead, Tiffany, and jump in there, and then we'll get some of these important information that Dr. Davis is putting up on the screen. But go ahead, Tiffany, and jump in there.
I wanted to acknowledge Amani and maybe ask if he could put his number and his email or his contact information for further conversation. And I don't have anything additional to add. Everyone's been pretty much nailing it and on the point. But I do just want to say, when I said cookie cutter like 30 to 45 minutes ago, it wasn't, I didn't mean it in any offensive way. What I meant is that one solution does not answer, this violence is very complex, and one solution is not the answer. It takes many solutions, many voices, many people to come together to address what's going on in the community. And I think if one person had the magic answer, like Rico said, a lot of people will be out of jobs right now. And I don't think that there is just one solution. It takes to raise our youth and bring the community together is what I was really trying to focus and emphasize.
I think that's very important, and I know Rico probably jump on this because me and him used to always talk about it too. I agree with Ms. Lampley about the monetization and the reparations, because money is a big part of it. And I know when me and Rico was mentoring kids, and me and Rico used to always bring this up. You know, how do these young people compete when they see their friends on Instagram with $4,000-$5,000, and you know they only getting $100, $200 a week? It's kind of a hard sell, and I think that's what this wage equity issue comes into play, because there always seems to be a lot of jobs, right? I always hear, oh, we got jobs. But one thing that I'm noticing is we don't have sustainable jobs. We don't have jobs that's really career based, and then we don't have the cost of living jobs. I was on this Zoom call last week with the Port of Oakland. They had 720 jobs for people to apply, but all of the jobs was $15-$20 an hour. I'm like, well, we live in the Bay Area. These people are not going to be able to afford, and it's like we're pushing people back into poverty. So it's just you're the working poor. You're not even the working, you're below the working poor. So again, we got to create sustainable jobs that really pay the livable wage, because I think that's a big part of it. And I think we got to continue to hold on that when we talk about reparations. And Rico know the number. We did the research. We sat down and figured it out. So he know I'm holding him accountable. I'm waiting on the Black Wall Street sisters to come back, because they was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm going to have a conversation with them, and we're going to really talk about this. And I hope everybody has their mind open now, because we have a little bit of more highlighting of what's going on and understanding why these numbers, they can't tell us it's too much. Okay, I don't want to hear too much. There's plenty of money. Every community has been blessed. We have been enslaved by all cultures in this country, and it's time for our fair share to break this wealth gap and get our people back in motion. So I just wanted to put that out there. Sister Elisa, did you want to jump in and say something?
John, really quick, I'd be remiss if I let this point pass. I want to just state the obvious. Tiffany, because you were addressing me, I noticed that you wanted the other law student to reach out to you with their contact information. And to that law student, I want to say, I want to encourage you to read From Here to Equality by Dr. William Darity. He goes in about reparations, whatnot. I want you to fill your head with this knowledge before she fills your head with prosecutor knowledge. So I just wanted to leave that. I could not let that moment pass. And I think it's very obvious why someone like that would not offer me any sort of, wouldn't want me to have contact information, or wouldn't try and plug me in. This is how they do the rinse and repeat. They get someone who's, you know, very likable, like the other law student, but very open and impressionable. And I want to make sure that you don't fall for that trap, brother. So go get that book, please, and fill your head with that knowledge. Thank you.
We're going to make sure we get you this both sides of the conversation, sister. We're not going to hold in on one side. We're going to hold in on both sides. And sometimes we have to agree to disagree.
Well, that's my side.
And I'm gonna make sure that I reach out to you. We'll get you back on here. I love the debate. I'll do the research. I'll read the book. I'm all for transparent communication, working with each other. But again, this is both sides of the conversation. We will have the difficult conversation, and everybody can have a perspective. But we're gonna talk about it on both sides. So I appreciate you jumping in, Tiffany. If you want to say something, and Sister Elisa, and then we'll go back and read some of this information. I want to make sure Director Davis information that she's putting in there, that community hears about it, because I guess for some reason everybody's not hearing it or seeing it. But we'll make sure that it goes out. Go ahead, Elisa. Did you want to say something, or Tiffany?
Oh, just really quick, and Aisha, I didn't mean to offend you. We can definitely. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I have 1% on this device. I'm sorry. No, I just wanted to say no more funerals, more graduations. I mean, I know you said something about, you know, everybody's not a college person, and you're right. We got entrepreneurs. We have different certificate programs, you know, that we can do. We can even create our own. We can mentor, you know, with our small business or big business, whatever businesses we have, organizations we have. You know, if you want something done, you got to do it yourself. And so, you know, I heard Amani say, you know, the young people's mindset is like, you know, I'm in it by myself, you know, I get my way or what have you. We do have to start changing the mindset of our own selves and our self-talk, what we say to ourselves and how we program ourselves to think a certain way. You know, we do need to have our own schools and, you know, teach our young people what our culture is. So, I mean, we have to get to the root of it. And I know, you know, we're on the end of the fact that this is what people have done to us, and, you know, we're in this situation. But what can we do? How can we make lemonade out of what we have? And so we got to turn it around. I love this conversation. Please invite me back. I got to go. Peace.
All right, Queen, you go ahead and have a good evening. Thank you for joining us. Very powerful stuff. I see Director Davis put about the mental health thing. You know, the challenges of getting people is access. And I think one of the solutions is we got to monetize it. You know, Black folks always show up for money. We got to reach our young people in the schools. We got to use every strategy to encourage this mental health thing, to make it cool. It starts with people like everyone here on this panel. We got to get our influencers in the community to do their part to talk about mental health. We need our religious leaders to talk about mental health, and we don't need our religious leaders to talk about if you got mental health, you got the devil in you and all of that stuff. We need everybody in the community have influence and has opportunities to bless people about mental health. Our radio personalities, our rappers, we have to talk about mental health to make it cool in order to get the people in the community involved with mental health. And I don't care if we call it mental wellness. I think Rico had one of the brilliant ideas of pop-up mental health services mobily. We got to do it digitally. We have to do it, but we got to start in our schools, because we got to impact the younger generation as well. We know our elders need it, but we got to really do a better job in our schools talking about mental health. And the biggest thing that we really need to do is really get legislative things in place to hold our employers accountable for mental health. We all see the latest shootings that's been going on in the workplace. There's a lot of workplace bullying, a lot of workplace harassment, a lot of workplace discrimination that goes on throughout the day. And I think the employers have to do a better job as well to provide mental health services for their staff. That's one way they can incorporate it. I know most jobs have mandatory safety training, mandatory meetings, and I think if we have some more things put in place for mandatory mental health for all staff, it'll be something great. But I think if we monetize it, we'll get some of the people coming in there. We got to start attaching mental health to the monetization. I know the mayor's looking at universal income and different things of that nature. We got to attach mental health with it. The same thing with these jobs. Hey, out of an 8-hour day, if you're getting funded from the city, go ahead and do your 7 hours. The last hour, you're going to do mental health or whatever like that. I think that's something we got to go. Go ahead, D'Anthony. I see you. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I would put a push in mental health to even expand to holistic health. You know, there is the 7 dimensions of wellness, which is a model that focuses on someone's intellectual, emotional, environmental, physical, career, financial, spiritual, and metaphysical, and socio-cultural health. Because I feel like it's this end, because sometimes it's those other issues that fall into those bigger buckets that impact your overall mental health. So also looking at mental health as one part of a holistic health press, and this idea that I want to make sure you're financially healthy. You know, I want to make sure that you have the resources that you need to understand your purpose, right? This idea is spiritual. Some folks, hurt is a part of their trauma. Church hurt, rather, is a part of their trauma. So also reconciling that some of these areas and some of these places, some of these resources that are designed to help folks and ideally are supposed to help folks, especially in our community, have been the source of the trauma too. So, you know, just thinking about a person's holistic health, even beyond just the mental health.
Yeah, I think that's phenomenal. And then just to tap back before Rico jump on there about the education, you know, I think, you know, Rico is a big component of this, and he really pushed me more into it. I'm more the person that was talking about future, but Rico is very big on our history, and I agree that history is definitely a part. But you know, typically in the Black community, we have too much history and not enough future, as Van Jones would say, and our allies have too much future and not enough history. But I think as things are moving around, I think one of the things that 100% College Prep is doing, some of the educators out there, is having this Saturday school, and we're trying to figure out what does a Saturday school look like. And I think Rico should definitely, you know, we should highlight that, making sure our African American history is a part of this Saturday school, financial literacy is a part of that Saturday school, and also some kind of wellness a part of that Saturday school. And then I got to shout out Dr. Scott, because I think this is important what Rico was talking about. Dr. Carolyn Scott, she has these bookmarkers that have all of the Black inventors. And I know it only goes to like the early 1920s, but I would like to see some of the future entrepreneurs and inventors as well. I think this is very important to our young people to know some of the Black inventors, some of the Black creations, to give them hope. Because a lot of time our young people, they know about Malcolm X, they know about Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, but when it comes to some of the day-to-day essentials and some of the things that we use day-to-day, they don't really know about it. So I'm going to help Dr. Scott to make sure we get this out to all of our young people. I know she's getting them around to the community, but I really think we need to educate our community, especially our young people, about the historic things that we use that they might not think day-to-day, that somebody that looked like them created it and developed it. And I think that's important as well. But Rico, go ahead, and then we can move around to Aisha and everybody else on here.
No, I mean, I was just going to say that, even with, a lot of the violence is how do we just start looking at things a little bit differently. Like, I think mental health and having a healthy mental is 100% important. Just my thing is like a lot of that stuff just don't work. And I'm trying to figure out why is it not working for our community? And I think that part of it is because the Western way of doing things, our spirit just like naturally rejects that stuff. So it's like, how do we look at it in a different way? How do we think more innovatively? Like, I ain't gonna lie, like everybody want to be us, like for real. And there's so many things that I can name to kind of prove it. Like when we look at fashion, we're the ones that, we're the number one consumer, but when we look at it in reality, whatever trends that we set, everyone follows that tone, no matter what. And that's just how it naturally is. That's how it's always been, because who we are and the essence that we have within ourselves. And I think that a lot of times we go outside of ourselves, and we continue to go outside of ourselves for so much that we actually lose a piece of ourselves in the process. When mental health is important to curbing some of this violence, but what is mental health in our community, and what does that actually look like? So we go to the frame of the mental health experts and what college say the frame should actually look like, but that frame was set for somebody else. That frame wasn't set for us. So it doesn't work for us. So a lot of times when we do push mental health and we asking young folks to go seek mental health, for some reason, I can name like so many programs that does mental health, but no one's going. They get a lot of money for mental health, but no one's going. It's because no one thinking outside of the box. And what was mental health for us? What was our mental health, and what was our way of seeking refuge and getting that clear mind and having clear a clear sense of thought, or a clear sense of freeing oneself? What did that ever look? What did it look like to us as indigenous people, as the indigenous people of the land, the people of the land? What did that look like? So if we continue to go according to this way, I just don't see it working. And I've been doing this for a very long time. I've promoted mental health, and I've promoted wellness within communities. But I'd like to look at it in a different way. I know for me, drumming, that's a good way for me to clear my head and me having some wellness. Dancing, I love to dance. So finding different ways that, like, in spirituality is really, really key to me too. I think that spirituality is a good way for wellness with our people, because we are very spiritual people. I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about spirituality and understanding oneself and being in tune with oneself through meditation and prayer. So I think with the violence, like, how are we looking at things a little bit differently if we continue to look at it from the eye of the oppressor? It's impossible for us to ever get over what we're trying to get over if we continue to looking through their eyes, because they're going to keep pushing certain things on us. Their certain agendas. And if we continue to promote that, we're biting into the same stuff that they continue to give us, right? Mental health and a lot of those experts, that frame is based on the European construct. It's not based on the indigenous construct. It's not based on us. Yeah, we do need it because we have gone through a lot of trauma, but there are ways that we got to start thinking more holistically around what it actually looked like for our wellness. And, I don't know. I know it have helped some folks sitting there talking to somebody, but we are all different, and we just got to figure out, like, what are the ways that can help us get over some of the things that we have gone through.
Brother Marlo trying to go there, like D'Anthony said, radical unity. That's what it's gonna take. Go ahead, Brother Marlo.
Yeah, and you just said it, unity. And the issue was back in the day, we had unity. We had people. We were together. And as you see, a house divided cannot stand. So what you see, when you see us divided as we are, well, then that is a mental health issue. When we're no longer at grandma's house with our cousins, we're no longer, with our friends. We're divided. Everybody's left to assume what other people are feeling, how they're thinking. We used to be together as a collective. I used to vibe together. I remember going to Pleasanton before the violence. I remember going to the Juneteenth. I remember being in the neighborhood and playing outside. I remember when there was just one car in the neighborhood and everybody would pile in to go grocery shopping together. Our unity was the key to our mental health. And if you look at other communities, their unity is key to their mental health. And I also want to get back to how we can ensure we protect our brothers and sisters, Black women in particular, is also a matter of unity. And also another issue we have is with that, without a unified front, our little Black girls often fall victim to all types of things in the community. And those young girls become mothers. And those mothers raise sons. So without protecting our Black women or our Black girls, we cannot protect the Black community at all. And so I'm going to quote the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and say that a nation could rise no higher than its woman. And we have allowed our sisters to be unprotected and unguided and uncomforted by mentally healthy men for too long, for far too long. And it's time for brothers to start paying attention to these little girls and kill the lustful acts, kill the lustful eyes, and be responsible men and start putting gems on these young women, because they said if you teach a one girl, you done taught a nation. So we got to start looking at our community as a place that we can consider home, because they've taken the home out of the community. And once we start looking at each other as brother and sister, not nigga and B, you understand what I'm saying? And I subscribe to the never ignorant, getting goals accomplished. You know what I'm saying? But that's what nigga means for me. Never ignorant, getting goals accomplished. That's the reason why I chimed in here today, is because I feel like this was a goal and this is a conversation that we needed to gear towards getting things accomplished. And so if we're going to ensure that we protect and support our women and men in the community, we have to remember that there's safety in numbers, and we have to unify. We have to shift the paradigm from what was, and we have to start using our minds to figure out what will be. And if we want peace and we want peace and love, we have to develop a unified front. And it's going to start with how we handle our women. It's going to start with all these mentally stable and mentally healthy men need to start mentoring young Black women. And when I was a youngster, I might have been 20 years old, I invested all my hard-earned money and became a president of the Home of Excellence. My mother started a series of group homes. I said, you know what, Mom, let me do it. Let me get up. I'll be the president, because I felt like there was such a gap in between the Black men and the young Black girls, because they don't have their fathers. You know, most of them have been abused or neglected in some capacity. And sometimes they just need the comfort of just having a brother they could talk to, an uncle they could talk to, a man that makes them feel safe. And what happens is those young women will start to reproduce the type of men that they were able to look up to. So, you know, I just wanted to address the actual questions, because we done went everywhere else except for the question that I showed up for. And I showed up for how we could protect our sisters, you know, and I appreciate the rest of the violence, but, you know, the violence will stop when we have a unified front and we can start having sound marriages. And I'm talking about having pride in our people, not just in the one LGBTQ community, but Black people collectively. Everybody, every Black individual being able to be proud of who they are. And that starts with us being responsible men and fathering our daughters, the future mothers of that community.
Powerful. Hey, Marlo, all I want to do is say I want to invite you back because we got some powerful conversations. I got you and another brother that we're going to bring back because we got some conversation. Next Sunday, we're talking about our fatherhood recognition. But some of these conversations, this is what we're going to be talking about. So definitely you're invited to come back then. And then in July, we're going to have a conversation about toxic masculinity. And I want to get you in on a couple of those conversations, but I think what you just hit on is very powerful, very important stuff that we're going to be focusing on because definitely the brothers in the community, how we handle our women, how we deal with our women is a very important conversation that we need to have, especially with our young brothers and sisters in the community, because this domestic violence thing with our young people that's dating is getting out of control. A lot of young domestic violence situations under the age of 18. So we're going to be honing in on those conversations as well. Please check us out on our website because that's where all the information is, all the upcoming topics. Community, you are welcome to be a part of these conversations. This is a community platform. We don't discriminate on anybody. You want to be a part of it, sign up and come on. But I wanted to see if DeAnthony, did you want to? Sister Ice, did you want to say something? Did you want to say something, Sister Lappy? Okay. Amani, did you have anything you wanted to say?
Yeah, I'm just glad y'all had me here. I love discussions like this. I feel like we should have these all the time. I feel like we should have this in real life, not just over like virtually, like roundtable discussions with everyone. And it's just a blessing to be here. And I just soaked up a lot of game and just heard a lot of people's opinions and points. And I feel like this is cool.
No, definitely. And I agree with you. We're going to be pulling some of these conversations in the community. But the one thing that the power of doing it digitally is we get people all across the country watching all throughout the city. Sometimes people could watch mobilely and they don't miss out on it. So I agree with you. Definitely important to have in-person things. And we're going to be putting some groups together. And I want to give a big shout out to my guy, Elgin Rhodes over at Code Tenderloin. He's starting a fathers group over there. And that is a start of empowering Black men. I apologize because he reached out to me, his team reached out to me, but I was at the Black graduation. I had it on my calendar and I got thrown away with the time. I was supposed to be there for the first class that was last Friday. So every Friday, my brother Elgin Rose is going to be having some fatherhood and some man conversation with Code Tenderloin. So I'll be getting that information. I'll be bringing him back on the show to let community as well know what's going on. So just wanted to let community know we are definitely doing some things. Karen Roy over at the child support, they're putting some things together for the men in community about child support and things of that nature that's going to be coming up. So we'll be getting everybody coming back on here and letting the community know where the services are, where these in-person communications will be happening. But we want to keep this digital platform because a lot of times there are people that work, they can watch mobilely, and a lot of times when we do have these community town hall meetings, for whatever reason, they're in the middle of the day or late in the evening and people have family obligations. So we want to keep something digitally where people could go back and see. That's one thing that I get a lot of feedback from community was, hey, I missed the conversation, but because it's on YouTube, they was able to follow up and see what's going on because these are important conversations and people do want to be a part of it. And they do want to hear what's going on to stay connected. And this is why we're creating this platform so that people can follow back up, watch what's going on, and still feel like they're a part of what's going on and know how to move. So very important stuff. We're about 15 minutes away, starting to wrap things up. If anybody want to talk to anything before we go, let's go ahead and do it before we wrap up today's show. Go ahead, Aisha.
Thank you, John. And Big Malo, thank you so much for what you said. I just want to clarify something very quickly. I agree with everything you said. I'm not sure if I caught it, but I don't want anyone listening to leave with the idea that Black women need to be led by men. No, what we need to be led by is ourselves. We do need our Black fathers. We do need them to help, lead our young girls. There's something to be said about a young girl who has a very solid relationship with her father. And we need you to, partner 50-50 in leading your girls. But we do not need men leading Black women. We can lead ourselves just quite.
Sister Emma Prodigal, probably one of the strongest women you'll ever meet. And I have to also give props to my mother, Miss Sharlita Holmes Box. I'm one of it, so you can look up my mother, and I have nothing but a litany of strong women in my family. His grandmother, Sharon Hewitt, was also a strong woman. So I have nothing but respect for women. And when I say lead women, I'm talking about as a father, because our young girls turn into women. And a lot of our women have a lot of problems because they were neglected or abused by men. So I'm asking our brothers to reach out to younger sisters and to their own daughters, primarily their own daughters, and start to focus on leading their daughters so that they can make a difference in the community. Because yes, women like yourself, strong Black women, are the future of our nation, the future of our people, the future of our community. There will be no brothers born like me unless they're women like you. So
yeah, and I appreciate that, but again, Big Mallow, we don't need to be led. Now, if you want to advise us on some
like
things,
I
you
just
can
said,
advise us.
I'm not interested in leading a woman.
Okay, I just want to make sure we clarified that.
As a father raising a child, raising a daughter, that's where that daughters turn into women. The seeds up, it's like a seed. You plant the seed.
No, that I get all that. Just make sure you say you lead a child. You keep saying leading women.
Semantics, and I didn't say lead women. I never said that. If you heard what I said
you'll hear the recording.
I said exactly. So please listen again, and you hear exactly what I said. As a father, lead your daughters. As a young Black man, be a comfort, be a protector, give Black women a sense of ease, and kill the lustful eyes, is what I said.
All right, we're not going to personalize everything. Yeah. We're not going to get into this gender play, because that's, I think, another problem that's dividing our Black community, these gender roles and some of the gender things that's going on. We do need our Black men. We need our Black women. Our Black women need to be protected. And I know they strong. I know they independent, but they also need the men of the community to also protect them as well. I agree with that. But we're not going to get into this.
But we do not need to be led. I just want to make sure we do not need to be led. We are not mules.
I do want to read. Like I said, re-listen to it, sister. Re-listen to it. There's no shots at. I think listen to the video.
I think
this is the problem right here. This is the problem right here.
I just want to recenter. I just want to recenter. I want to recenter.
Yeah, we got to recenter the room.
Yeah, because the reason
we here in love now. We here in love. But go ahead, D'Anthony. We here in love. We here in love. We not
because
nobody. We here in love.
I think ultimately, we as a Black community need to understand that we need to co-lead in this effort. Both our Black men and our Black women need to co-lead, and I think it's a battle on all fronts. And then we also need to be mindful that we have folks in our community who are gender non-conforming, that need our support. We have folks who are, especially our Black trans women, especially. But we also have trans men that need to be supported. We need to support our LGBTQ Black folks. And there's a lot of homophobia in the Black community that also leads some of these same youth that I'm talking about towards paths of self-harm, paths of depression. There are Black LGBTQ youth who are being kicked out of their homes. I know one, he's a college grad, handling his business, not hurting nobody. And his father won't even talk to him. And some of our Black fathers, we have some toxic masculinity, and not we, but some of our Black fathers have some toxic masculinity issues that also get projected onto our LGBTQ young Black men, especially. And in some cases, young Black women and those who are gender nonconforming. So I just want to also say that it is a both and, this idea that we need to just lead as a community, right? And we need to understand that even the gender roles that we have come to know are rooted in oppressive European mentalities. I know, like for me, it was a partnership with my mom and dad in raising me, even though they weren't together. They said, we're not together intimately, but we still gonna co-parent you and make sure that you have what you need to survive this world. So also helping our community understand co-parenting, that is deeper than an intimate relationship, that it's a partnership in raising our kids, and it's a community effort. It takes a village, right? It takes a village to raise a child, but it also takes a village to maintain one too. So I think, this idea that
it's just two sides of it. No, it's a whole collective effort, and we have to make sure that we're also talking about our LGBTQ youth and young adults and our trans and gender nonconforming Black community.
And I actually mentioned those, brother. I mentioned everybody, brother, and I said unity as a community in its completeness.
I'm right there with you. I'm right there.
I got you, brother. But I also, too, like I said, and after all that I said, to try to focus on something that missed some, and like I said, we're having an open forum, open conversation. And so I hear people saying women need to be led. Like I said, I have some of the strongest women possible in my life. So I have no problem with, and they're all leaders, well noted in San Francisco. And I'm speaking for what's going on in my community. And in my community in San Francisco, California, where I was born and raised, what is a problem is that Black women feel like they're being accosted by Black men. And what the question said is, how can we protect Black women and Black men? And I said, started off by being better fathers and by keeping people safe. That's what I said. And I think men can lead in that capacity as fathers, because I believe every woman comes into this earth, whether she's whatever her sexual orientation is, whether she's bi, trans, whatever the case she is, she comes here with a father. And so I'm putting the onus on men to protect their families by stepping up to the plate and doing their part, because our Black women have been doing their part alone for quite some time.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Rico, you want to say something? We got a few more minutes before we wrap this up. This is powerful. I don't want to throw gasoline on no fire, but I'm leading my family. I'm the head, and I'm leading my family. But go ahead, Rico.
Right on. You need this panel too. Right on.
No, I just want to thank everybody for coming out. Like to me, this is an amazing conversation. I think that everyone brings so much to the table. And just hearing everybody, I would love to figure out how can we keep this conversation going. I think all of our personalities and who we are is the very makeup of our community. And that's how we bring this unity together. There's always going to be situations and misunderstandings and things like that. But the good thing is through all this, a lot was accomplished. I heard everyone, and I think everyone said some amazing things at the end of the day that I've put into my toolbox that I would be able to use moving forward, because I believe that, what both of you are saying is very, very, very important. And I also come from some amazing women. I think all men come from amazing women in the capacity that they can raise their children, right? But I definitely come from some amazing women in this city, and I think that you're 100% right. And what we have to show our young women and women just in general as men, and then vice versa, what does that actually look like? Because we are people who learn sociably also. So the social environment in which we live in, if we continue to do weird things and we act weird, 9 times out of 10, the behavior is only mimicked and continue to move forward over and over and over and over again. And we're not uplifting each other. So I was always taught that Zakar and Nakuba, which is male and female, they got to coexist. And if we coexist, I have to humbly understand that at some point she will lead me. And then she has to humbly understand that I will lead her at some point. So I think in the beginning of all this, the first thing I said is Black agenda. Everything has to be Black. We can't categorize it. We can't chop up the pie. It has to be Black, and we have to be Black led by Black people and understanding what Black people do. At the end of all this, I want to say the race is not to the swift nor to the strong, but it's to those who can endure, and the possibilities become endless. I love you all. All of you are amazing. John, you got a good one right here. You got a good crew right here. Brother Big Malo, I definitely want to connect with you. Sister Asia, I definitely want to connect with you. Tiffany, I always talk to you all the time.
Right.
I just want to keep whatever we can do, John, to keep it going, because I think that this conversation can be, how do we do this in a series on the platform, but then also off the platform for some young folks so that we can engage in these conversations and they can actually hear us all articulate ourselves, because I think everybody is an expert in their own way and in their own right. Like I heard some expertise out of everyone.
And it seems like I'll say too, you know, I love it that I won't say we not fussing, we discussing. You know, so I also just want to say that we discussing, we not fussing, because at the end of the day, this is a part of the building work for our community too. All of this dialogue, no matter where you stand on the perspective, bring the ingredients to the gumbo. Everybody bring something to the gumbo.
Hey, I always tell people, if it don't apply, let it fly. It's all love. This is who we are. When you're talking about changing the narrative and you talk about hearing what's going on from our voices, this is what it looks. Sometimes it's a little colorful. Sometimes it's a little passionate. Sometimes it go back and forth. But this is our people. It's all love. No disrespect to nobody. But I got to watch my mouth. I see Director Davis said, be mindful of our language. So I'm going to be mindful of my language today, Dr. Davis. And I'm not going to put gasoline on the fire. What I want to do is, because I know we've been on for a long time, we usually stop at 4 o'clock. I want to give everybody an opportunity to give some closing words out to the community about violence. But I'm hoping that everyone on here could just hang on for a couple of seconds after we end the thing, so we can connect with everybody and everybody get everybody's contact information. But we will have a part 2 to this. We'll start working on that with our team. There's a lot of things going on. But Big Marlo, Brother Hewitt, I want you guys to sign up for our Father Day thing and for our toxic masculinity. I can't even speak right now. But we got some shows coming up, and all of you on this panel are welcome to come to any one of our conversations. Please go to our website, Both Sides of the Conversation, or you could go to the one that's running across the bottom of the screen. Either way to get there. Check out our upcoming Sunday conversations. Every Sunday, we are having conversations. These topics are what the community are asking us to talk about. We try to reach out to different professional people and different backgrounds with those topics to help lead them and facilitate them. But again, we like the people from the community who are experiencing it, living it, but we also like to get that professional lens to help guide the conversation. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping up. I don't want to cut off Richard because I know something happened and he came back. Richard, did you have anything you wanted to say before we close out? Because I want to be respectful to the elder of the room, elder in the room, brother.
Yeah, you know what? I'm just everything everybody said. Milo, Asia, everybody had some great information. DeAnthony, and I think if you don't have my contact information, I'm definitely going to get it to you. Not only am I a director, but I'm a trench worker. I love being a trench worker. And so we just need to continue to work in the trenches and reach out to the community. And Eldridge Rose is right next door to me, man. So, I'm going to attend that father group. I'm going to support it. You know what I'm saying? So things is happening in the community. Cole Tenderloin, Dale Seymour, everybody, man. We're on the page, and so we just need to work together. We got matriarchs and patriarchs in the community that are workers, that are here, and we just be able, we unify and work to our common goal. You know what I'm saying? The ties that bind us together are stronger than those that can tear us apart. And so we just need to stay strong. That's it. Man. That's all I got.
Powerful words. Thank you, Richard. You know me. Everybody out there know how I am. I'm about this king supporting king movement, queen supporting queen, and our king supporting our queen. That's what this is all about. This is what this platform is really driven for, the community. Every Tuesday when we highlight our Black and brown businesses and our community leaders, that's what it's about. Bringing people together, networking. Every Thursday we have our Educational Thursdays. That is definitely one of those segments where we help educate our community. We get the different people from the different professional backgrounds to come on and do a PowerPoint presentation to bless our community with information. It's needed. As you guys can see here, these conversations, they get us going, they get us motivated. I was halfway out from running around all day, but having these powerful sisters on here and these powerful kings have uplifted my spirit today, and I'm ready to go run a 2-mile run right now because I'm excited, because when I see my people having conversations about this, that tells me the work is starting to move and people get it. We have to wake up our level of consciousness, in our community, and these conversations will continue to keep happening. Every Sunday, we will have these community conversations, and we're going to do our best as we move out of this pandemic to start trying to rally in the community and get things going in the community. But I want community to know we're going to keep this platform digitally as well, because I know a lot of people reach out to me. They're working on Sundays, they're in church, and they like to get what's going on, and we're going to keep it digitally, but we're going to do our best to start moving in the community. On Saturday, we're going to put together some man events, some women events, and we got to stop this gender war. So I want to get sisters like Aisha to come in where we can have men and women have dialogue. And it's okay to agree to disagree on everything, but I think we got to start interacting our man and the women. And I just hope my sisters out there hear this, because I'm on a lot of these calls. I'm on Clubhouse. I'm in these digital streets. And I hear a lot of our sisters saying men won't communicate. They won't open up. But I also want our sisters to know when we start getting our men to the point where they open up and being vulnerable, please don't shut them down. Please don't, do the things that'll prevent them from opening up. And we're not always going to agree. But when we have brothers speaking up and talking about how they feel, let's support them. And we don't have to agree, but give them the love and support that they need so that we can get more men to open up and not just shut down. Because too many times, these difficult conversations, people just shut down and say, hey, I don't want to be a part of it. And we're not getting anywhere. And that's why I'm not with the cancel culture. I think the cancel culture does the same thing. We got to let people open up, speak their truth. It's okay to correct them. It's okay to have a difference, but we want to hear the voices of the people. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and start shutting my mouth and let everybody on here start closing out today. I would like everybody on here to give the community some positive feedback, some words to the community of encouragement. Today's conversation, whatever you want to lead the community with, this is your opportunity. We just go across the top row and move our way down. We'll start with DeAnthony, Big Mello, Rico, Brother Hewitt, Sister Lampley, Richard, and then Sister Sutton if she gets back on. I know she's having a little connectivity issue. But go ahead, Brother DeAnthony, lead the public with something. I know you always got a great way to articulate stuff to the community, because every time you say something to me, you just get me excited. So go ahead, brother, and get the people something.
Well, I'll give you a disclaimer. This is incense, y'all. This ain't this ain't that. But the reason why I do this is because just to kind of set the energy, and that's what I think I want to wrap up with, this idea that our energy is in unity. And I think the biggest problem that we have to look out for is miscommunication, no communication, and co-opted communication. This idea that, well, we're misinterpreted what we're saying, this idea that we're not communicating at all, and also being mindful of not letting people co-opt our experiences. I don't need a spokesperson. I need an accomplice. I don't need an ally. I need an accomplice, somebody who will serve as the defensive lineman and create those spaces and opportunity for our people to grow. And sometimes that also takes you putting yourself out on the battle line. The trenches is where the work is. It's not behind a desk. It's not. I see Dr. Davis said, was that disclaimer for me? I said, partially it is too. But I think it's just important for us to communicate and for us to understand our perspectives. It's all different. That's why I hardly say I disagree with people. I just have a different perspective. And that perspective is molded and shaped off of all of our experiences. So let's communicate our experiences and uplift each other. It's not just about accountability. It's also about making sure that people have an opportunity to grow from where they are. And, I just appreciate being in space with you all, especially just being in both sides of the conversation. Once again, Brother Majid, thank you so much, Brother Ross, and just everyone who's been involved in this. And of course, you, John, the team. And thanks again. I'm looking forward to being in the space.
Hey, thank you again, brother. That's so funny. Dr. Davis, he said it's no smoke. It just is, because I saw it. People texting me, what is that smoking behind you? That's a good one. Dr.
Get
Davis
myself clear in.
Hey, I told y'all she has the eyes of an educator. She sees everything. She one of the teachers that the kid in the background doing something, she be saying, hey, stop. All right, Brother Mello, go ahead and give your excellent words.
I thought that was symbolic, as he was with all the smoke. You know what I'm talking about? But what I would like to say is, I can only, like I said, speak from my perspective, like you said, and there is no community without the word unity. And I would also like to, since we was plugging books, I would love to say one piece to my mentor, and may she rest in eternal peace, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. And I want to plug the book, The ISIS Papers, for our people out there, and to read that, because that woman I'm in the DC area, and I was blessed to be in her presence. My mother was also blessed to be in her presence, and she was definitely ahead of her time as it pertains to the conditions of our people. So since we're plugging books, I want us to examine those who have not already had the privilege of examining ISIS papers. Go ahead and grab that and examine that book. And outside of that, I want to say I appreciate everybody on the panel coming out. It was a beautiful experience for me. This city is everything to me. Born and raised in San Francisco. I love my city. I represent my city. I bleed red and gold, black and orange, go Giants. You know what I'm saying? And this type of stuff is healthy for the community. And to see so many of us in here engaged in this kind of dialogue is a beautiful thing. So I want everybody here to have a beautiful evening, a great evening, a wonderful time, and get ready for that Monday to make that money. And peace to everybody that was involved. And Sister Aisha, I really appreciate a lot of the things you said towards the end. I know it kind of veered off, but we're going to do that. And that's how we get that. That's how we get progress, by having that, ironing it out, and then we move forward. And so I want to say thank you for what you brought to the table, and especially the brother, oh man, my elder down here, I can't see his name, but the elder at the bottom, in the trenches, the soldier, man, I salute you. I appreciate you. The young brother in the middle, carry on a super duper legacy, brother. You know, I mean, you know, but you look just like her, man. And so, you know, everybody here, class acts. So I just want to give everybody my love and give everybody peace. And hopefully I'll see you guys again and next time.
Hey, Marlo, hang out before you go, but can you put that book information in the private chat so we can get it up there on the screen? So
Absolutely.
Whoever goes back, yes, please do that. Anybody have any book, any promotional materials, please get it in the chat so that we can make sure at the end the community can definitely go check out those books, because I'm definitely going to pick up the Sister Aisha book that she was promoting. I want to check out that as well, because I'm always trying to enlighten myself with information as well, so I don't be generalizing things out there, because people have this thing that I'm always generalizing, but it's all right. Brother Rico, my brother, Young King, go ahead and lead us out, baby.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna be quick, John. I just want to say and send a shout out to all Black folks in San Francisco and throughout the country that's doing excellent stuff for their community and uplifting their community. I just say to everyone out there, as some advice, is be the best version of you possibly can be. Stay humble, show humility, show compassion, and continue to uplift each other and show each other love.
Thanks, Rico. You know, you always have those powerful words, always closing us out great with stuff. Just thank you, and we support you for all the things that you, DeAnthony, the rest of the people at the HRC are doing to bless our community. SF Block, Rainin, the brothers that's trying to keep these conversations going. We're going to bring more awareness to the community. Thanks to Majid, we're going to be having some things on human trafficking coming up. So just looking forward for some of the powerful things that the Black community is doing. And we just got to work together. We got to put our personal differences away. And even if we don't personally like each other, on a business stand for it, to move our community forward, we got to get together and make sure that happens. So I just want to shout out to all those people. Brother Amani, go ahead and give some words to the community, brother. Powerful king right here, y'all. 25 years old.
Honestly, I feel kind of spoiled because I feel like I'm always in situations where I always grew up. Well, Sharon used my grandmother, Didi used my mother, so I feel like I was always around topics and conversations like this. So I kind of want to like pass it on to other people. Like I feel like I should be sharing this knowledge and my experiences with other people. So whoever's watching, please reach out to your youth, and I will reach out to the young folks as well. But also, I would say just continue to like love, appreciate, and respect and have pride in each other as a community of Black people, because I feel like if we have those things, then a lot of the problems that we have wouldn't be there. But yeah, I'm just grateful to be here again, and thank you all for having me. I would love to come back.
Definitely. You're welcome to come back anytime. You are all part of the Both Sides of Conversation family. Anytime you need this platform for anything, digital flyers, you want to come on the show, you want to promote something, you are welcome here, Young King. Very proud of you. Keep doing what you're doing, because some young kings behind you are watching, and your leadership is going to help get the next generation of young people moving forward. Sister Aisha, the powerful sister. Now, when you talk about powerful women, boy, this is a sister here. Y'all better watch out. All Black, she ready to go to war. Let's go. Give people some words of encouragement before we leave today.
I appreciate that, John. And just for the record, even though I don't mind it, my name officially is Asia, but a lot of people say Aisha because, you know, with the relevance to, you know, Muhammad and his first daughter, I believe, first wife. So it's still a compliment. So I appreciate you saying my name anyway, you know. So yes, I wanted to say to us, you know, we have to really there's a few things we got to do, guys. And I appreciate this beautiful space. And thank you, Milo, for your words. We got to be comfortable with conflict, because conflict amongst us, at least, leads to, you know, better understanding. If we avoid these conversations, no progress can be had, right? And so the other thing I want to add is, you know, cash reparations. I want us to get used to demanding cash reparations. Everything else is periphery. You know, you can put that in the fine print somewhere. You can put that on page 109 of the reparations document. But the first thing that everybody needs to be focused on are the cash reparations, right? And again, I just want to plug this book so that you know what it looks like, just in case, you know, the people who like to steal our intellectual property decide to knock off the title and sell the wrong title to us. And I'm not going to get specific as to who does that. I think I beat up on them quite enough, AAPI. But anyway, so I want us to, if you could, John, again, I appreciate the space. I would love for us to host maybe even a topic surrounding benign neglect, because I think our people don't have a proper understanding of someone who is passively killing us and genociding us, right? As long as they're kissing us in the forehead and stabbing us in the, you know, in the back, you know, and passing the knife to the other, you know, POCs and BIPOC folks who are having a good time, you know, stabbing us, by the way, because I've watched the executive orders, and I've watched what people say versus what they do, you know, in passing certain bills. And it's not at all in alignment. And I want our people to be confident in pointing out the BS. This is the first time I've actually censored my cursing, but I'm trying to be respectful since you made that announcement. So, you know, in lieu of that, I want to just go to page 25 in the book, From Here to Equality, since we're speaking on benign neglect and people who've mastered that. There's a quote here that Obama said in August 2008. He says, "I have a lot of respect for Congressman John Conyers, and I'm glad that the NAACP gave him its highest honor this year. While I know where his heart is at, I fear that reparations would be an excuse for some to say we've paid our debt, and to avoid the much harder work of enforcing our anti-discrimination laws in employment and housing, the much harder work of making sure that our schools are not separate but unequal, the much harder work of lifting 37 million Americans of all races," there he goes, throwing everybody in to our shit, my apologies, "of poverty. These challenges will not go away with reparations. So while I applaud and agree with the underlying sentiment of recognizing the continued legacy of slavery, I would prefer to focus on the issues that will directly address these problems and building a consensus to do just that." This, ladies and gentlemen, is an example of a benign neglect master and a trash ass individual who appropriated our likeness. He does not share, you know, the lineage of being an American descendant of chattel slavery. Yet he patted Congressman Conyers on the head. Yeah, that's cute that you would introduce reparations, but we actually need to do this other thing, which doesn't help the Black community at all. So I want us to be very confident in assessing these leaders. And I haven't even started on Kamala. You know, I know there's beef with Kamala, you know, and that's my sorority sister. And I'll probably be the only sorority sister who will call out some of the really foul things she's done. Tiffany, I'm sure you probably have more dirt on her than I could ever have. But I would love for us to disclose what these folks have done publicly. And because they've undervalued our intellectual acumen, they've completely they had no idea what they stepped into. We live in the information age, and with every technological advancement, there's an unintended consequence. And I love that we can disseminate information this way to each other and help elevate the consciousness of our people. And by the way, go to Fanbase if we want to get to the younger audience, as you put, John Henry. Go to Fanbase. Fanbase is like Clubhouse and Instagram had a beautiful Black child. And I only say that as an analogy because it is Black owned. And it's probably the only social media app, I believe, that is Black owned, and is owned by Isaac Hayes' son. And just as a disclaimer, I'm an investor in the app. So I can't say that without saying that. So I want us to feel comfortable with disseminating this information in a place where you will not get canceled for even saying, things that you said, Big Milo. I'm sure there would have been Black women, unfortunately, who would have said cancel you forever. And all of that is just, you know, just resentment and things we got to hash out as a community. So, you know, fan base would be the place for us to, you know, basically bring in younger audiences, and you can monetize on that as well. So.
Yeah, if you could put that information there for people out there so we can get people to tune into that, just go ahead and put that in the chat. Thank you very much, powerful sister. This is what this is about, both sides of the conversation. So I appreciate you. Love to have you come back. Definitely, I want to talk to you before we leave today about hosting some things because I want to get some of our women of the community involved with some of this. And Big Mello, we go do something, man. We go do some powerful stuff. So y'all just watch out. There's some stuff coming down the pipeline. Brother Richard, you want to go ahead and give everybody a little closeout before we leave today, brother? Oh.
No, say Asia and everybody, you know, it energized. You know, and that I think today was just I'm looking forward to working with, you know, Rico and Majid and Jamil and everybody. You know what I'm saying? I'm just excited about where we're going. You know, SF Block, been part of it since we started Mega Black. You know, big shout out to Dr. Davis. Congratulations. You know what I'm saying? We need black therapists to read black people. We need black counselors to read black people. You know what I'm saying? We need more peer advocates and we need more peer counseling. We need our people to help our people because each one teach one. You know, each one teach one. I just think that, you know, it's unity and we agree to disagree because we still had the Simon Bond. And some more services, some more substance abuse services, some more resources, all of that. We want, all of us want the same thing. And all of it, and we just do by give us some money. You can't do nothing broke. They want us to struggle and do it. We don't have to because they got the money. They got the money, and they can give us the money to do what we need to do to be successful. And you can't do nothing. Whatever nobody say, you can't do nothing if they don't give you no money. So I hear when it comes to reparations, we definitely need some reparations. You know what I'm saying? And all of that would trickle down to the housing, to the mental health services, to the primary care, you know, for the seniors and for the youth. You know, I'm also I need to say that I give a big shout out to the Bay Area Entertainment Association. I'm the executive director, and I want to bring more music because music soothes the savage beast. You know what I'm saying? We need to bring them to the got shut down because of COVID, but I'm excited now that COVID is lifted. I'm ready to celebrate Juneteenth. We need to blow it up. I don't celebrate the 4th of July because we didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. and so I'm ready to enjoy Juneteenth. Just glad that things are opening back up, man. And we got an opportunity to do some things that we never done before because they finally recognize and they've been screwing over us for years. So I'm just excited. You know, don't get me started. I'll get on my soapbox for a while, y'all. I'm looking forward to working with y'all. And John, I'm gonna take you up. I'm gonna call you, man. So don't put out no promises you can't keep.
Hey, check this out. I'm a man of my word. I'm a man of my word. My work speaks for me. All you gotta do is reach out to me. I'll give you my information. I've seen you on the calls. I know who you are. I'm doing a lot of things. Reach out to me, brother. This is a community platform. Y'all got access whenever y'all want. And I'm just happy that you said that. Very powerful stuff. I'm looking forward to doing some things with you all as well. But thank you, brother. You energized me too. You, Asia, y'all just gave me a lot of hope today. Because you know, sometimes I get a little hopeless. I sometimes think that we quitting. Like I said, I feel like we in that pre-surgery mode where we're on the countdown to go to sleep. But every time I hear the elders of the community speak up and sisters like Asia, it gives me that energy to keep fighting. Dr. Honeycutt was on our show last week. Powerful elder talking about the real straight talk. And that's what we got to do is continue to have straight real talk with our community. So thank you. Sister Tiffany, I know you at the end. Go ahead and give the community some final words. I'm so happy you here and honored to have you here today. But give the community some love. Tell them some positive that they need to hear before we leave today.
Well, first of all, I just want to say that I am truly blessed and humbled to be on this panel with all of you. And I know a lot of you are out there doing great work in the community, and that's exactly what we need. We started this topic with addressing community violence, and it's so broad, so complex. But as the topic says, community is going to be the key to reducing and stopping any violence within our community, especially our African American community. It starts with us. I mean, it's going to end with us, whether it's reparations, whether it's, equity, whether it's dismantling systems, whether it's holding everyone accountable, the community accountable, the systems accountable, the people who create these systems. But it all starts with us. And we are powerful people. Make no mistake, we are a powerful people. We have a lot of tools, a lot of resources, a lot of knowledge. We have come from just history of barriers. And so I just, again, want to thank you for having me. I want to thank Rain and Ross for inviting me. And I just want to continue to work with each and every one of you in any positive way we can, because again, we got to stop the violence within our community. And that's what this topic was about, is addressing how are we going to, one, identify and talk about the violence in the community, and then how do we stop it? So thank you for having me. Thank you all for the work that you do. And let's just continue to fight the fight that we're fighting.
Powerful words, powerful words. There you have it, community. Definitely, like you said, want to give a big shout out to Majid Crawford over at SF Block. Want to give a big shout out to my brother, Rain Ross. This is what it's about, bringing the community together, powerful conversation. The community was engaged, a lot of information. And again, like Tiffany said, this is a broad conversation. It's impacted many, many different ways. But it's just great to be here to have the conversation. Again, want to give a big shout out to our Mega Black family. Want to give a big shout out to YC, my brother DJ over there, Crystal at Black to the Future, my brother Uncle Stank over there, Collective Impact. People that are doing things that impact our community, very powerful. Want to give a big shout out to all of our people over at 100% College Prep, people that are doing the work, educating our people, empowering our community. That's what it's really all about. And like Tiffany said, we have to bring the unity back into the community, because it seems like the unity part is what's missing. So as we continue to rally together, like D'Anthony always says, this radical unity, I'm all about it. We got to radically unify our community and make sure that everyone under the umbrella of Black in our community is protected, and working together to make this positive change. The young brother Hewitt on here today, powerful stuff. Just want to say that, these conversations are really moving. This is therapy. This is healing. Again, you guys brought my level of consciousness and energy up today, and that's what it's really all about. Mental health and wellness is many ways to get healing, and these conversations help us open up to really touch into who we are and our internal processes. So just want to thank everybody for coming on. With that being said, just want to let everybody know this Tuesday we will have another segment of our Hidden Gems. Every Tuesday at 7 p.m. we highlight our Black and brown businesses in the community, as well as we highlight our community leaders that are doing things to impact our community. And then this Thursday, we're going to have another Educational Thursday segment at 6 o'clock. We're going to have Miss Tichelle come on here to educate community about Juneteenth. As Rico said, we got to teach our people about history. It was sad to me last year. A lot of people did not really understand what Juneteenth really meant. So looking forward to her presentation to educate our community about the history and what Juneteenth really means, and things of that nature. So just phenomenal. And then next Sunday, we're going to have our Father's Day recognition conversation with the men in the community, talking about fatherhood. What does it look like, building up our community through fatherhood, and some of the experiences and things and obstacles that they went through raising their children in the community as well. And then I want to give a final shout out to my brother Elgin Rhodes over there at Cold Tenderloin, him and Dale doing phenomenal work. I'll be at the next one. We're having the Father Day father group that he's putting together for the men in the community. That's one of many events that's going to be taking place to help get the men in the community to come together as we talk about fatherhood, violence, different things in the community. Looking forward to connecting with them. And we're just going to keep pushing this thing on. Thank you to all of the viewers out there watching and comment today. It's very important that everybody interacts, and it's just good to see everybody interacting and getting involved, keeping the panelists energized. Thank you, Dr. Davis, for all the work that you're doing, especially in the education. That's one thing that I love about her, really focusing in on education, because I still believe that education is a big part of what needs to happen when we're talking about this violence and moving our community forward. We got to get the people the information. We got to uplift them, and the rest of the stuff will follow. Reparations is real. Asia, I hope you're here for the reparation conversation, June 27th. Anybody want to join this reparation conversation? It is going to be a great conversation about reparations because it's needed. Our community definitely needed, and any of the other conversations that's coming up. We will be out in the community live. So the weekend of June 19th and 20th, we'll be out both sides of the conversation. We'll be doing our show on the 20th live in the community for the San Francisco Juneteenth events. We'll be in the Fillmore on Saturday. We'll be in Baby Hunters Point on Sunday, celebrating with the community for Juneteenth festivity. So that show will be a little different because we'll be out there live in the community, but we will be out there. So with that being said, we're going to end today's show. I know it's long. Thank you for community for hanging in. This was a powerful conversation. We had to go until it go, as they say, and we at that part where we ended. So bless everybody. Have a great evening. Do your part. Be the change. Impact the community. Just do the work, as our Mayor London Breed said. Get out there and impact somebody. Have a blessed evening. We'll see you all this Tuesday. Have a great day.